Good evening. Welcome to the Goffstown Board of Selectmen's meeting, July 18th, 2011. We were called to order a little early for a non-public session at 5:30. We finished with that. And at the present moment, would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Steve, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Our first order of business is the acceptance, correction of public and non-public minutes of 7/11/2011. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, any changes?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, 4-0. Announcements. Do we have any announcements, Sue?
No, I don't believe we did.
I don't think so either. Anybody have any announcements?
I do. This Saturday, Roy Park, there'll be a
Ice
free
cream social.
concert and free ice cream social starting at 6 o'clock. There'll be musical entertainment provided by the band The Risen.
Right.
So I would encourage if people that there is limited parking in Roy Park. We are going to be parking some vehicles on the outfield grass, but there is limited parking. So for those who live in that area, the best thing to do would be to walk there with your lawn chairs, etc. So again, parking is limited, but we try to get there probably around 5:30, 6 o'clock. Music will start and the ice cream will be being served.
Is there any charge?
There is no charge
Okay,
for
make
this.
sure, no
There is-
charge.
There'll be ice cream sundaes and water and free
And music.
and, yeah, so bring your lawn chairs.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Scott. Any others? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. At this time, we take comments from members of the public. Is there any member of the public here who would like to make a comment? Okay, everybody's shaking their head no, so we will move on. 6:30, we have Assessor Scott Bartlett.
I did have a
You're
check-
not Scott
I
Bartlett.
know that, but I had a check presentation that I wanted to present that really wasn't on the agenda, but I guess we can do it under a public comment, if that's okay.
I'll
Okay.
make a public comment. How about that, okay?
Yeah, that's why she can
That's
accept
the-
it.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, I'm gonna go back up, we're not going to Scott Bartlett at this point then. We're going back to public comment, just so everybody knows. We're gonna, Elizabeth, we need your name for the record.
Elizabeth DeBrule. I'm the co-chair of the 250th committee. Tonight we have a check that's being presented to us from State Farm Insurance for $2,000 for our 250th celebration.
Okay, that's great.
So we wanted to present that tonight to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, so we can put it on our agenda to accept it at our next meeting.
On the agenda to accept it.
It's already been accepted over in $500 increments, but this is more of a ceremonial,
Oh, so this is not an amount, these amounts have already been.
have already been accepted, $500 increments.
Four
Yeah.
of them?
Okay.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
publicity for the acceptance.
yeah, it's just a matter
Okay,
of, yeah.
all right, fine.
So it'll be Steve and I, or, both Steve and I work for State Farm, and we get grants, and we applied for grants, and we received them, so.
Okay, super.
So we're
That's great.
Just gonna take a quick picture, so Sue, would you?
Sure.
You're trusting me with this,
I'm
huh?
trusting you, yeah.
Come over, Steve.
Are you getting up front?
How
to
do you
do
want the
this?
picture taken, Scott?
What?
You gonna take it in front of the flag? You want the three of you over there, or
Whatever.
what do you want? However you want. This is your moment.
DJ.
Steve's moment too.
We've already done
Well,
this
yeah,
before.
but you're the one with the money, so.
In the middle? All right, let's see if we can do it right this time. Is
Yeah,
this
hang on one second.
There's, if that's from IT, there's a button.
No, this is Scott's.
No.
Did you turn it on?
Yeah. Hold on.
You
got
have your
it?
instructions too.
You got it?
No, I don't
Last
see
picture didn't
anything.
look so last.
It's not on, that's why.
Oh,
You don't remember? It was at the old
I
board.
can see
meeting.
the,
Those
This.
pictures
It's on
got
green.
blinking over there, and I kept laughing.
Oh, I thought it's right.
And none of those pictures came out. So
Okay.
that's why we're
Scott's
doing this again.
Until 6:30, we got lots of
it
time.
doesn't automatically zoom?
We got a lot of things on the agenda to get through.
Okay, got it.
Actually, take a tight picture, I think that would be. Sue.
All right.
You're all smiling now.
Yes.
Look at that.
Okay, ready? One,
Yep.
2, 3. Did it go off?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So
It might be nice if you tip your check up so it's level.
Turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't worry, this will only take a half an hour.
Yeah,
for
don't
you.
worry, it shouldn't take all that
Hey,
long.
Sue,
You can come closer, Sue. It's
Sue,
not gonna-
wait, why don't you go in between, that way you can be right on the
I'm
other
good.
side?
I'm good, yeah. I've got them framed, it's
Yeah.
just, you're just supposed to press this, right,
I
Scott?
think you're turning the power off. I think that's what you're doing.
Is this the button
So
you
much
press for
entertainment.
pictures? Yeah, that's what I did.
See, you
Must
just-
be,
you gotta hold it
it
down.
must be
Scott's not in the
Scott. It's Scott in the frame that's,
Oh, God.
Fingerprint
All right.
there we go.
That I like. That I like.
Okay, I was just
Alright, did it
wasn't
work?
holding it long enough.
Is Scott blinking?
You're all smiling.
Oh.
Take two, take another one.
Wow, you have to hold that
All
down.
right.
We're done.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Photographer or not my career choice.
Okay,
thought you used to be a
we have our
photographer.
assessor
That's why I
here,
asked you.
Scott
Nope.
Bartlett, regarding some statistical updates of value. And we're running a little early, so if you'd like to, you can have the floor.
Would you like me to be long-winded, or?
No?
Would you like a picture too, Scott? No, thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you.
We can take one.
Just read everything and send it to me.
Okay. As the board knows, I've been working on a update of value for the last few months. Last week, I ran a recalculation of the total master file. I had made changes to base rates, which are building rates, depreciation schedules, updated land neighborhood adjustments, and I ran that total recalc, so all of the values that are currently in the system have been updated to the 2011 values. I've not released any of those values. The list that I had given to the board,
We have them in
We
the
have it.
selectmen's
We've
room.
read it.
Yeah.
Yep.
that is a list of all the values. What I plan to do is release all of those values and make them public on Vision Online
Mhm.
as of Wednesday. I have an appointment with Vision. They will be updating those, so starting Wednesday evening, those values will be out there. Yes, Dave?
Back up just one step for
Sure.
the viewing public. Please tell us why all the properties are being reassessed.
Okay. In 2008, we did an update of value. As of that date, we were approximately 96% of value. Since 2008, property values have been dropping approximately 3% a year. The net result of that is that assessments, or the 2010 assessments, for the most part, are greater than actual market value. Anytime you run into a situation like that, while it's not necessary to do an update of value, it benefits both the town, both my office, and also the people that are looking at these assessments are very concerned when their assessment is greater than their appraised value, what they're selling the property for. So we, with discussion with the board, felt it was a good idea to update those values. We're also trying to get in the habit of doing an update twice in a 5-year cycle, or at least that's my plan. That's been pretty much the approach that I've been using since I've been here. We are required by law to update values at least once every 5 years. By doing it twice in a 5-year cycle, it maintains values that are at or close to 100% of value, which in the long run benefits everybody. Because what happens when you have longer periods between updates is you have huge shifts in value. So that someone who's paying a certain amount of taxes one year, all of a sudden is paying a lot more, or all of a sudden is paying a lot less. If you do it on a more periodic basis, things stay at a more equitable rate.
And I'd just like to add, one other aspect of your job is to keep an eye on market changes and shifts in market valuation. Because when you notice a large shift in one particular category, such as perhaps several years ago we had, where the condominiums in the residential property, that category was changing so rapidly that we had to reassess those particular ones on it to keep them, so we didn't have that runaway assessment way off of market valuation.
Yep.
So that's another aspect of your job, which
Yeah,
is
Which
similar to
I
this.
do on a regular basis anyway. Over the last 2 years, I've adjusted values twice. Last year, I adjusted all the values of the manufactured housing,
Right.
but not any other properties. The year before that, I did condominiums
Right.
and manufactured housing.
Right.
To keep them at a level rate
Okay.
and equalized with the rest of the town.
Okay.
And-
Any other
and-
questions of the assessor?
Yes.
Yes. Dave.
What is happening during the review period, and how long is this review period?
Okay? Essentially, what I'm gonna be doing is making this information public. It's gonna be the
On-
list.
On the 20th of July?
Yep, it's gonna be online. During this period, people will have the opportunity, or taxpayers will have the opportunity to come in and ask questions, raise concerns. I can go over the property record cards for them. This is something that a taxpayer can do on a daily basis. But this is essentially a 1-month period, urging property owners to come in by August 19th. Review their values, take a look at them. Any questions, give me a call or come in, make an appointment with me. I will make myself available by the 19th. Starting the following week, which would be the week of the 22nd, I want to be finalizing all my values. And then by Monday, the 29th, I want to have the MS1 ready so that you can sign that. Now, one of the things I do want to do during this review period is have the permission of the board to give property owners a copy of their property record card for free. Right now, what we do is we do charge $1 if anybody wants a property record card. But since values are changing, we did this the last time in 2008. When they come in, I would print a card for them, review it with them. I'd also like the ability to give them 1 page of that list for free. If they want more cards, if they want comparables, if they want more pages, they would pay the normal price.
And
But again, I
within
need your
what time-
permission for that.
Within what time frame? You talking a 30-day window, a 45-day window?
20 July to 19.
I was essentially looking for this 30-day window until the 22nd, if the board wanted to.
What if we just went to the end of the month?
That would be
A
fine,
couple
too.
extra, okay. Scott, you had a...
Doesn't
Yeah.
that back you up to the 29th of August? So you wanted to prepare the MS1 for our review on the 29th.
Correct, I want to have that ready, but if, during that period, I don't see a problem with still giving them a free property record card.
Right.
Okay.
That's, the property record cards, whether we're charging for it or not, it's got nothing to do with the MS1.
It does not.
No, two separate issues. Scott?
I think there's a tendency for us to, around this table, because we know about this process, we take it for granted. But when someone says to me that my home used to be valued at, say, $280-some-odd thousand, and now you're assessing it at $260-some-odd thousand, some people out there saying, oh, that's great, my tax bill's gonna go down, okay? That's not the case. All it's doing is it's reflecting more current market conditions. We still take the total number of properties and we divide it by the appropriation. So what'll happen, if I'm wrong to state that, although my property value went down by 7 or 8% from what it was assessed at, the tax rate would then have to, when it's for tax rating session in October, will be amended upwards to reflect that. So, long story short, for those of you who may be watching, if you're paying a $5,000 tax bill, you're still paying a $5,000 tax bill. Your assessment went down, but the tax rate's gonna go up. And the same thing happens on the opposite. Many times, homes are appreciating, and that's what we went through probably for the last decade, where the value was going up, but the tax rate went down. It's all about the appropriation that we vote on every March. So my concern is, and I guess you'd probably want to do this for your own benefit so you don't field bazillion phone calls, is that these are the types of questions that people are going to have, one. So anything that we can put on the web would be great.
And a list of frequently asked questions.
Right, and I know we have the technology to do this, but even just a very quick 5-minute video clip where people can even click on it, and it's you saying, okay, here are some examples of it, so that people can get a better understanding. Because a lot of people think, oh my gosh, you know, my taxes, oh, it's great, my taxes are gonna go down, when it's really not the case.
Yeah, and I just want to bring up, add to your comment there, that's another thing, that difficulty is when you're comparing over, let's say, a 10-year period, and people look and they say, they look at the tax rate, because here's the case where the tax rate's going to change, but yet the tax amount is going to be the same.
Right.
There's a reason for the, so when you don't take that into consideration when you're comparing tax rates over, let's say, a 10-year period,
Right.
you're gonna look at that and you're gonna say, wow, the tax rate changed.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because on our budget committee, the last budget committee meeting, there was a discussion about a goal of having both the Board of Selectmen and the school board to come in with funding that would represent a level tax rate. Well, obviously, that is not going to happen, because we're gonna see our tax rate increase even though there's been no increase in expenditure. So, and I agree with what you said, because over the years being on the budget committee, I actually show people not so much the tax rates, because they go up and down, but here is the dollar amount of taxes that I've paid over the last, 10 or 15 years. I mean, that's really what you have to look at, is what dollar amount in taxes are you paying? The tax rate fluctuates.
Right, okay.
Question for Scott.
Can
You're gonna qualify that, right? That
Correct.
statement's, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that can change a lot, can it? Or minor or a lot?
What Scott was saying is 100% correct. Anytime you do an update of value, whether the total value of the town goes up, whether it goes down, your tax rate is going to change. Now, in this particular update, values have dropped. Doesn't mean every single value in town has dropped, but the overall total assessment has dropped somewhere between 6.5% and 7%.
Which,
That-
just, in a dollarage amount, we're looking at, am I correct, 100 million?
It's
100
approximately
million,
100
yeah.
million
Okay,
for
The
the
whole town.
total value of the town. That's before exemptions
correct,
and exempt properties. So if you look at the memo that I had given to you,
right.
these figures here represent the gross value of the town. Okay?
Not the number that the tax rate set on.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Total valuation.
Total
That's on the
valuation.
MS1.
Including exempt properties. So this number does not actually appear on the MS1. You have to add 3 numbers to get it, because it includes exempt properties such as this building as well. That's everything. So the general rule is if we were to drop the total value of the town by 7%, and the budget was exactly the same this year as it was last year, we are going to be raising
Right.
the tax rate by 7%. That question that you brought up is the most common one I have had in the last few months since we put the letter in the first tax bill. People have been coming to me a lot, and that is a common misconception. If my assessment goes up, or if my assessment goes down, my taxes are gonna go down. That will not be the case here. Typically, what you wanna look at if you're trying to get an idea of how this update will affect you is you look at the average change. And again, the average change is around 7%. If you go up, or if you go down more than that, your taxes are gonna go down a little bit. If you go down less than that, your taxes are gonna go up a little bit. So that is the general trend.
Okay, any other questions? Did you have a question, Dave?
He answered it.
Yeah, I think, for me, I think the big concern
Okay.
is how this gets
Communicate.
communicated to the public. I mean, and we can only do so much, like on our end, and whether we can get assistance from the newspaper or other venues to try to let people know, because there is so much confusion over that. I mean, I see it with people even on the budget committee. Sometimes they don't have an understanding of how that always works. So any way that we can communicate it would be phenomenal.
Scott?
One of the things that frequent updates does is it helps with that communication, because taxpayers are used to this. They start to get in the habit of seeing this happening. It raises a lot more questions, which I can answer over time. The frequently asked questions that you mentioned earlier, that's already on the website.
Right.
It's there. This particular question about, it's it is one of the questions on there already. Now, how many people have looked at that? I don't know, but it is there. I updated the frequently asked questions today. I'm going to be, I updated on my computer today. I haven't actually posted it yet. I will do that tomorrow. Along with this list will actually be posted on the website as well.
Okay.
The change in the assessed values, predominantly the structures, or was it also land?
It's predominantly the structures. For the most part, land values did not change that much. I did leave the average land value in town alone. What I did change for land values was neighborhood factors and what is called site indexes. We have 3 different site indexes we use in town. There's a 4, a 5, and a 6. Typically, they're related to, a 4 would be our rural areas with no water or sewer. A 6 would be our subdivision areas with small lots and both water and sewer. 5 is somewhere in between. I did make some adjustments there. I did make some adjustments to some of our neighborhood factors. But for the most part, the land is staying about the same. Building values are dropping the most. Depreciation was a big adjustment as well.
Thank you.
And the third thing that was a major adjustment was size adjustment factors. Because they were, size adjustment factors are basically change the way your relationship between a small house and a larger house. And there were some discrepancies there. I had to go through that entire curve and adjust that.
Are they based on square footage of the home, of the structure?
Yes.
All right. And what is it exactly you're looking for from us, Scott, then? You're looking for,
The only thing I need from the board is permission to give away free copies of the property record card.
Waive the dollar fee for
Yeah.
property.
To waive the dollar fee for a property record card and 1 page of the list
till the end of August?
till the end of August, yes.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, all set?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scott. Appreciate it. Okay. Our next item is at 6:45. We're running a little ahead of schedule. We might as well start with the town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your weekly meeting schedule is in your packets. Wednesday at Library Trustees and Parks and Rec. Thursday is 250th Anniversary Planning Committee and CIP. And Saturday, as mentioned earlier, is the Ice Cream Social at Roy Park. Consensus folder tonight includes some AP warrants, appointment papers for the Municipal Retention Committee, and that's for Derek Horn and Don Bohr until replaced. Drainage and turnaround easement on map 38, lot 112, and then the MS5 form from the auditor. And this is the second year of no auditor's management letter. They will be coming in to speak
Now,
with you.
I have to say one thing. For 2 years in a row, not to get an auditor's management letter, I want to know how many other towns in the state have ever gone 2 years.
Okay, I'll ask the auditor. He
That's-
can
that's my typical
answer only from
question.
the ones he does.
No, I know, okay.
Which is a good step.
Absolutely,
There's
absolutely.
no findings. I mean,
Right.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consensus folder.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Seconded by Dave Pierce. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
And the assessor recommends 2011 abatement request from map 24, lot 29.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
That's it for me.
That's it for you, huh? Boy, I don't want to get on the selectmen's discussion, because we'll be here all night.
Might as well start somewhere, right?
I know. Okay, we're all set. The 6:45, we have a swearing in scheduled. It's on the agenda. 2 firefighters, and 7:15 Public Works Director. Okay, so, selectmen's discussion, new business. Do we have any new business? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to some old business. We have revenue tracking, which we requested while you were away from our assistant at TA, and there was some information that we were given.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to, before I'm remiss if I forget, Derek did a great job in Sue's absence. I know we had some issues pop up during the week, and took care of everything. So, I mean, I know from my dealings with him, I was very impressed, and just want to publicly thank him
No,
for doing
I
a nice
think,
job.
I
Yeah.
think it's
I
well-deserved.
think we made the right choice.
And I also had to say one thing, that was the first meeting that he was here in place of the town administrator, and I think he did an excellent job. He was well-prepared.
Yep.
And I think that the information that came forth from that we requested, I think it's pretty thorough.
And you did tell the town administrator that the meeting was like really short,
I
too.
told
Yeah.
her it was all because of him. That's right, I did. He got all the
I was
credit.
concerned at first, because usually your detailed notes providing guidance to us is usually about 2 pages long, and his was 4 pages long.
Right.
But he went through it very
And
efficiently.
he didn't have any on his hand.
Good to hear.
Okay. So with the comparative general fund revenue report, I assume this is what everybody was looking for?
Yeah.
Pretty much. You have any update or any comments on this, Sue, for us?
Just to indicate that in 2009, at this point in time, we had collected 35% approximately of what we had budgeted for revenues. In 2010, at this point in time, at June 30th, we had collected 38%, and this year we're at 44%.
Okay, now,
So
just so that
percentage.
everybody that's watching understands the revenues, they include,
Everything but property taxes.
right, but
Are
they include
included in this
dog
list.
licenses, they include registration fees, and what else?
Grants.
Grants, any departmental income, motor vehicles. It includes everything that we collect that's not property taxes on this chart.
Correct, okay, thank you.
And I think one of the things to me that, you know, we've been very concerned about revenues and making sure that they're tracking, because there's been a lot of speculation in a down economy that our revenues are decreasing, and in some areas, they are lower, but in other areas, they're higher.
Right.
And I think.
Overall, they're high.
But overall, right, and I think, you know, when you look at, say, the town clerk, there's a lot of money that gets funneled through the town clerk's office through motor vehicle registrations, and I think those numbers seem pretty strong. So I don't think we're seeing, you know, huge slippage there. Same thing in tax collection and some others. So I think overall, I think we're in pretty good shape in terms of revenue projections and what we're actually, you
Right.
know, taking in.
Okay, so that's good. One thing we should, though, is try to keep this updated. Okay?
Yeah, and we know that as a result of the state actions, you'll see that you won't realize what you would have in a highway block grant money. We're estimating that there'll be a $71,000
Shortfall.
shortfall there.
You know, anecdotally, I don't know if this means anything, but there's a slight little uptick in building inspection, so there's certain things that
Well, there is
maybe-
activity. There is
Right.
activity
So maybe,
there.
you know, again, it's anecdotal, but, you know, maybe we're starting to, you know, come out of this thing.
Right, but when you drive around, if you look around,
Yeah.
you do see additions going up, you do see quite a bit of,
Lot of
People are
and
renovations.
remodeling,
some of
a lot of
them,
renovations,
some of them are bank-owned homes
Right.
that are going through that too. So, I mean, that's the irony of it. And I don't know what the percentage is, but some of them are, they're being renovated and sold. So, that's good points, though. Okay, so the next item then, any other comments on it, Steve? Do you have any comment on it? Okay, the other item then that we're looking at is the,
Undesignated fund balance.
yeah,
right?
the undesignated fund balance, which, we asked for this chart, and, I think this, I spent some time looking at this, and I'll have to say one thing, just so that everybody knows what we're looking at. We had the surrounding towns, and then, when I was talking to Derek and Don, they picked Milford. They picked Milford, because of the size as a community, about the size, there's approximately the same size of us. They do have a slightly different form of government, not much of a difference, though. They're not an adjacent, they're down the road a ways, but they don't do as well as we are. And in the range between 5 and 10%, which is what the fund balance, which is recommended by DRA, we've been right in there for the last 5 years. We're up, we're up well. And 2 of the surrounding towns have also, are also in there too. It looks like we're in New Boston. Dunbarton and Hooksett haven't done so well. with that, so,
Yeah, just for those in the audience who might be watching, the range is between 5 and 10%, and the last 2 years, Goffstown has been 9.5 and 9.4
Respectively,
respectively,
right.
and I think that's a testament to what we've been trying to do.
right.
In terms of keeping a strong fund balance, managing the money, conservatively. And, it's clear that, aside from Bo,
Yeah.
which also does a very, very consistent, strong job in that regard, they also have the benefit of probably having a very large taxpayer.
Well, public service.
Public service in New Hampshire.
Northeast Utilities.
Yeah, so, but I think, we've done a good job, I think,
Right.
not to
Right.
be cocky, but I think we've done
Yeah,
well.
no, I mean, I think the fact that we, 2 years in a row, no, management, no auditor's letter from the auditor, I think, goes into that. Dave, did you have a comment?
And just to note, the boards formalized their fund balance policy in 2007, and since
Right.
then, it's just improved.
Right, right, okay. Good, thank you. And our next item is a form of government discussion. I don't know if you want to take that up right now, because we only have about 5-10 minutes.
That was a good article. I thought that the Q&A
Yeah.
from, I don't know where that came from,
Town
I
and
guess
City?
Town and City,
Yeah,
yeah.
Town and City.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, no, that was. Do you think the health insurance discussion will be about 10 minutes, though?
No. Do you think it would be? I don't know. I talked to Sue a little bit about it today, but, it might be, I might make it longer.
You better answer that question than me.
Well,
I mean,
That's about
my take on it is that I don't think this is something that we're gonna be able to take immediate action on. I think we need this information for short, medium, and long-term planning of how we're compensating our, union, non-union employees. Just knowing some of this information. So I look at compensation as not just always a short-term thing. I look at it like, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? And I'm not in favor of drastic changes in compensation or benefits. I believe if you're gonna make changes, you do it over a period of time to give people the ability to make adjustments, and allows for, different changes. So I think, this is a good synopsis of what we've done over the last couple of years. But I think there are things that, I don't know, I get a little bit nervous sometimes when we talk about some of these things because we have 2 contracts which we're still negotiating. I don't wanna,
Right.
kinda tip our hand as to what we're doing,
it's something we've got to be careful on
Right.
that discussion.
But I think, make no mistake about it, is that the Board of Selectmen is taking a look at employee contributions. We are looking at health plans. We are looking at compensation, cost of living. We're looking at all these things in totality, not just one, because they're all intertwined ultimately. They all have a cost.
Right, right, and there's one other thing too in there, that we also have a group of employees that are retired, that we also have that are in
Right.
the, through the COBRAs, through the COBRAs that are part of the system. So, whenever we look for, changing, who the carrier or anything along is we have that issue that we have to deal with too, like any other, municipality.
And just so the public's aware, it's not that the town contributes anything towards retirees' insurance. It's that they are entitled to the same insurance as current employees.
Correct, so they go along with it. Where do we go, Scott?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd like to just to read into the record these things, because
Oh,
the actions
absolutely.
that we have taken, so that
Sure.
the public knows that what we've done. We've reduced the amount of cash outs by 15%.
Correct.
Before, if there were 2 people who worked for the town, both employed by the town, they could cash out, and so we've made some modifications there. We've eliminated, I'm sorry, that was the cash out for spouses, I apologize. The other cash outs were 15%. We've increased co-pays for office visits, medications, emergency room visits. That's part of the plan changes that we made a year or 2 ago.
Correct.
And that reduced our premiums from 16% down to 8%. So that saved taxpayers. It also, to a certain extent, there was a cost that was then shifted a little bit to the employee, because now they have some higher co-pays and costs for prescription drugs, et cetera. We've increased a single-person employee contribution from 0 to 10% for 2 of our bargaining unit members. And we've entered into a 3-year multi-line insurance agreement with LGC to take advantage of the lowest possible rate. So we've done these things. We're looking at doing some other things. But again, I just want to reiterate that, in my opinion, these things are slow. I mean, they're incremental changes that are not drastic, so that, you don't, really, I don't think it's a good thing for any employee to make, draconian changes all in one fell swoop. I think if you're gonna make benefit changes, you do it over a period of
Yeah,
time.
and I think that's been the feeling, the sense of the board, too.
Right.
Not just you as an individual. So, any other comments on this, Steve? Dave? Okay. You wanna go on to committee reports? We got 5 minutes.
We're ready to go here.
Oh,
We're almost done though. We'll be quick on these two.
well, we just have these two, and then it's just 2 quick reports. Sewer.
Sewer Commission met 12 July. There are 2 streets in the village area near the meeting house, Reed Street and Temple Court. A plan was presented as to how sewer lines could be replaced, the present sewer lines. And the conceptual plan was approved, and Public Works will then bring an engineering estimate to the Sewer Commission so that the Sewer Commission, using their funds, can bid out the replacement of the sewer lines on those 2 streets, Reed Street and Temple Court. There's a management plan called the CMOM. It stands for Capacity of our sewer projects, the management of sewer projects, and everyday operation and maintenance. It's a plan that's mandated by Federal Environmental Protection Agency so that sewer facilities can have a common baseline of how well they're doing as far as the capacity of their plants and the management of their operations. The Sewer Commission is putting together information to submit that report. They discussed a purchase of a camera that potentially could be in next year's budget or the following year, depending where it falls in the CIP.
To TV the pipes? Or-
Yes, this
Okay.
is a camera that takes television pictures on the inside of the sewer lines as well as storm drainage lines.
So it's not that
Colonoscopy.
camera on a stick?
If Scott would like to donate his camera, that would save several $1,000s. But that will be a discussion as a budget item on the CIP, whether it's this year or next year. Also, there's a potential for a contract to actually provide the data that goes into a software package we already own, so that the management part of understanding our sewer facility and our storm drainage facility can be automated. Finally, one of our favorites, the Mass Road sewer upgrade. As of last week, the majority of the construction is complete. It was continued to do some temporary paving of the trenches that had been dug. They're doing minor work on punch list items that needed to be cleaned up. And I suspect over this next week, the contractor will be cleaning up his various yards that he's been storing equipment in and moving off-site. The contractor would then be back on site late this fall for repaving of the entire road. That's it. Sewer Commission.
Any questions of David? Okay. Planning Board did meet last week. There was a public hearing regarding transportation impact fee update study, which was presented by Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission. The board heard the presentation and continued the public hearing to September 8th, that meeting. Also, there was a completeness review and a conditional use permit public hearing for a proposed second access driveway at 100 Violet Street. That was approved, the conditional use permit with some conditions. Also, there was a lot line adjustment for 38 and 36 Riverview Park, down on the other side, for people who know, that's on the other side of the river, surrounded by Manchester and the water. That was approved with conditions. And that was the planning board meeting. Scott?
Mr. Chair, we took action in non-public session before we started,
Right.
and I'd like, if I could.
Well, we didn't take action in
We didn't take no action, I corrected, we heard from the police chief, and what I'd like to do is take action now on, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the police chief's recommendation for both 2 new employment hires and 3 promotions.
Right. Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Steve. Any discussion?
just want to qualify the new, their replacement.
They are 2 replacement officers
Oh,
due
just
to the retirements of a sergeant and a captain.
Right, and we still are short
One
one
police officer.
officer, right. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
The other is, I'd like to make a motion to accept the fire chief's recommendation for 1 employee of a part-time evening EMS coverage. That is in our packet.
Okay, is there a second?
Yes. A second.
Seconded by Dave. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Is that it? Are you putting off the other
No, we
one
can
for
do
next
that
week?
after. I didn't want
Oh,
to
okay.
start that discussion on that short
Carl
window,
Clark-
that's all.
Carl thing? Which one?
No, this one.
No, the other
I
one.
don't know if that
Oh.
was being put off till next week or
Yeah, I think so.
tonight.
That was just informational.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I think we're gonna have a discussion about it, but I
We
think.
have a full
but-
board.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, no, I didn't know if
Yeah.
anybody they want to have any preliminary discussion, because I didn't want to have an involved one because we're not all here.
No,
But
I
there
was-
might
I was
have been just some.
comfortable with what we got.
Yeah, okay, no,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine. Okay, so with that, we have our 6:45 appointment, which is the swearing in of 2 firefighters, firefighter Derek Chouinard and firefighter Stefan Donahue. With that,
Chouinard?
What?
Chouinard?
Chouinard,
How do you say it?
Chouinard.
Really? Oh.
Unless they
We'll find out in
pronounce
a
it
second.
differently, that's the spelling that I know people, and that's how it's.
Steve would know. He's a native. What is it, Steve?
Phil's not French. Phil's not gonna be it.
I'm gonna ask for the chief.
Hail to the chief.
Hmm?
Hail to the chief.
Good evening.
Good evening, chief.
This evening, I'd like to, it's kind of fitting, last evening, we had a send-off to 2 department retirees, Lieutenant Cook and firefighter Dean Kovas. And this evening, we're welcoming two additional new firefighters to our organization. And it's always a refreshing look at an organization when we honor the folks that have left us and retired, and looking at our future. And tonight, we look at Derek Chouinard and Stefan Donahue as our new firefighters. So with that, they're all yours to be sworn in.
Okay, great. You have the paperwork?
It's in this signature folder.
I hope we have the paperwork. Everybody's here.
Paperwork.
There's that one glitch.
You have the paperwork.
One glitch, huh?
One glitch.
Okay. What, nobody signed it?
Yeah,
That could be.
it's in there.
We'll be right back.
Chief O'Brien, could I borrow you for a minute? Would you read that and sign it?
Oh, they found it, the pressure's off, huh?
Yeah, we
can
found
do
it.
professional.
Got enough paper clips here? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Now, Chief, did you explain to these what this whole process is tonight, or this is something, what their expectations are?
Well, they'll find out.
Oh, okay.
They're pretty easygoing.
Yeah, we might get the paperwork mixed up, though.
But if I could have Derek and Stefan come on up. All right.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Okay. Let you guys kind of turn around a little bit.
Okay. What I'm gonna do is read a preamble to this explanation. I'm gonna get to the oath of office, and, you know, we're gonna have our hands raised, but I'm gonna get to a point where I'm gonna say "I," and you say your names, your respective names, okay? Just so, okay? It's notice of appointment of firefighter. We have two, Derek Chouinard, Stefan Donahue of, Derek's up Ware in the county of Hillsborough, and Stefan is in Bedford in the county of Hillsborough, state of New Hampshire. And whereas there is a vacancy in the position of firefighter within the town of Goffstown Fire Department, and whereas we, the subscribers, have confidence in your ability and integrity to perform the duties of said position, we do hereby appoint you the said Stefan Donahue, a firefighter, and Derek Chouinard, a firefighter, of the said town. And upon you taking the oath of the position and having this appointment and the certificate of said oath of office recorded by the town clerk, you shall have the powers, perform the duties, and be subject to the liabilities of such position until another person shall be chosen and qualified in your stead. Okay, in your office, raise your right hand. Okay, I
Stefan Donahue.
Derek Chouinard.
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties
discharge and perform all the duties
incumbent on me as a firefighter
incumbent on me as a firefighter
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the United States Constitution,
agreeably to the United States Constitution,
rules and regulations of the Constitution,
rules and regulations of the Constitution,
and laws of the state of New Hampshire,
and laws of the
state
state
of New Hampshire,
and the ordinances of the town of Goffstown.
and the ordinances of the town of Goffstown.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Leave these to the chief and, yeah, just, let's not get them mixed up. Okay?
Quick
Need a pen? Right there you
There's
go.
a pen right behind you, Phil.
I got one right there. Okay?
Sign here. Make sure you're on got the right one. Here you go. This one as well, Chief. Don't go anywhere. Oh. 'Cause then we have to get your badge on. All right, turn around, guys.
And I'll just,
Just a real quick introduction to folks in TV land and in the community. Your new firefighters, Derek Chouinard here. Derek is from Ware. He is a firefighter, firefighter paramedic. He's a firefighter 2 with paramedic, so he's all trained, ready to go, right out of the box. That's why, you know, I think he's done quite well so far. He's also striving to get his fire science degree up in Laconia. He has his experience from Ware and from area departments and ambulance services, so he comes well prepared for doing his duty here in Goffstown. So with that said, who would you like to have you put your badge on? Okay, why don't you come on up? All right. Try not to stab yourself. There you go.
Don't worry, plenty of paramedics around, they'll take care
Doesn't want to go in.
Doesn't go in. Slop it down.
Okay,
There you go.
works.
Next, we have Stefan Donahue. He's from Bedford. He's also actually coming to us from as a call firefighter from Amherst. He's a firefighter 3 EMT and soon to test for his EMT intermediate. And I'm sure he'll do well.
Yes, sir.
He has his bachelor's degree, and he's got several other trainings with rescue and firefighter survival that again, he'll be a super fit for the Goffstown Fire Department and what we do here. So, Stefan, who would you like?
My wife Christine.
Okay. All right. Enjoy. Good job. You're welcome to the small reception next door, and we'll have photos back at the station across the street at Station 18. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thanks, Chief.
Eric, welcome.
Thank you,
Stefan,
Chief.
welcome.
Thank you. We're back from the reception, and we're here with Public Works Director Carl Querum regarding labor vacancy, Main Street parking delineation, road plan update, McFarland Johnson request, and updating engineering fees. It's all yours,
you.
Carl.
Before I start, I didn't get these over in time for you folks to include it in your announcements, but I just wanted to tell you I got 2 letters today from the UNH Technology Transfer Center. And I just wanted to inform the board that Bill Holt, you probably all remember Bill, the last workshop he took made him achieve the status of a senior Rhodes Scholar in the Rhodes Scholar program.
Excellent.
So he's 1 step away from Master Rhodes Scholar. And Mike Walton was recognized as a Rhodes Scholar 1.
Road Scholar 1, huh?
Yeah.
I'll have to mention that. at
We are
Pizza
gonna
Market.
find him.
Yes,
We are gonna
I thought
find
you might
him.
want that.
If we can get a copy
Mr.
of that, that would be good.
A Rhodes Scholar, Mr. Walton, all right.
I think it's
He's
already on
probably
Steve's
watching
desk.
right now.
Okay. So, let me start, I guess. We'll go right in order. The laborer's vacancy, from what I understand, you folks had a question about that last week. I guess by way of introduction, we had a vacancy recently open up. As you all know, this year, to try to save money, we've had to put a lot more on the backs of our in-house employees to try to stretch our road plan dollars further. So it's a very aggressive schedule that we've been trying to keep up. Obviously, the laborer, we have 3 laborers. They're very instrumental in the work that we do in the field. And like other busy departments that are filling positions right now, we desperately need to have all of our positions filled. I know there's concern over the probably yet to be defined shortfall from the state that's coming, but I did do just a little bit of research, and it's less than $30,000 remaining in this particular salary line because we're partially through the year. So though every bit I'm sure will help, it's not gonna solve the funding dilemma that I think you were all talking about last week. So I come to you just to ask that you let us post this position. It is an important position, and we're ready to move forward with it.
Carl, is this a full-time position?
Yes.
You have a question?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, with Sue being gone, I don't even know if we fully grasp what this retirement downshifting on cost is gonna impact us. The numbers that we got last week from finance was that it was in the neighborhood of $150,000 to $160,000. However, we as a board don't know, really what that will impact. Now, case in point, if our recycling revenues are up or higher than what was expected by X amount, I mean, where can we kind of cover this so that we don't cut our nose to spite our face? So, I mean, I, for one, totally recognize the fact that whether it be, doing the cemetery work or doing a lot of the road program work ourselves, being short one laborer, that affects a crew, and I completely understand that. On the flip side of it, albeit even $30,000, I mean, if we don't have anywhere to cover this thing, then what? So I don't know where we stand. I mean, I'm hoping that Sue can give us some guidance, with respect to that. And it just simply wouldn't be your department,
Right.
Carl. I mean, it would be, we have to take a look at all departments as to, where are we gonna kind of come up with, $150,000 or $160,000. The other thing that we're still not sure about, and I chatted with Sue about it today, was there is this notion that the legislature set aside money for distribution, be it they don't know the formula of how municipalities are gonna get it. Not sure if that's a 2011 issue or if it's a 2012. I'm fairly confident that the 2012 retirement rates for municipalities are going to be offset by the increase in employee rates, so that we will not bear the full brunt of it, say, in 2012. However, I'm still unclear as to whether or not a certain pot of money was set aside, which I thought it was, for 2011. So, we could be seeing monies from the state in a few months that will help offset that $150,000 to $160,000 shortfall. But, I just don't, I'm hesitant, Carl, me personally, to say, hey, go ahead without fully knowing, where are we gonna come up with this, $150,000. So that's me. I
have a question for Carl. On the labor position, just so that it's clear to the board, I mean, I guess when you look at it and you come in and the way positions in public works are classified, I mean, you have labor, you have a truck driver, you have different classifications. And labor is probably entrance level.
Yes.
Or bottom on the hierarchy, okay? And I guess the concern that I have is, some people might look at that and say, well, it's only a laborer. But in the scheme of things for your department, can you just give us a breakdown? I mean, how many labor positions are there in the department?
We have 3 laborer positions, and what these folks do, besides the obvious, I mean, they're on a pipe crew, they're obviously the one jumping in the hole, doing the work on the ground. When our summer kids are not here, they're generally the traffic control folks. In the wintertime, they're the ones running around with pickup trucks and the smaller vehicles plowing the sidewalks, the guys that are manning the sidewalk plows. Helping out in the cemeteries on the shoulder seasons when we lose the summer kids. The concern that the cemetery trustees raise that, we don't have enough time. These are the folks that supplement that effort. So they're very, very active. They do a lot of different things for us. Brush, when we're cutting brush, they're the chainsaw guys. They're the ones out there dragging the brush, cutting. And though all of our truck drivers, as you move up the ladder, the way the job descriptions work, every step up, you don't lose all the duties. The job description is built. So we're not the type of place that when somebody becomes a truck driver, they never get out of the truck. And I mean, we still could have a truck driver mowing a lawn in the cemetery. However, as you all know, our pieces of equipment run constantly, and you can't take a laborer who doesn't have a CDL and throw them in a truck. However, we want to keep that truck moving. If we have to, we can shut a truck down and take them out to mow a lawn. But we try to avoid that. We try to get the most out of the equipment as we can and let the laborers do the other stuff.
I personally don't have a problem advertising the position, but, because that's not a huge cost factor. But I personally would feel more comfortable kind of knowing from all the department heads, you know, are revenues positive in certain areas, or did we save money in certain areas? I mean, the issue is this, it's a bottom line budget for us, that if we have to absorb $150,000, how can we best do that through all of our departments? And if we can do that, then certainly with all the work that we have to complete, cemetery, you know, being one, that cemetery expansion and a lot of the whole host of projects that we have, I'm not adverse to hiring a laborer, as long as I think we feel pretty confident that the revenues in certain areas can compensate for it, or there's savings in the budget. That's my big concern, personally.
I can tell you just from DPW perspective, and I can also probably tell you, because we had a department head meeting last Thursday, the expense side of the budget's not looking good. Everybody's nervous about the expense side, and we're going to talk about the road plan later on this evening. Every road we've done, our estimates are very tight, but there are very few that are coming in under budget. You know, they're 2,000 over what we estimated, or that, you know, it's very close, but it's not. I don't have any comfort level that, oh, we're doing great on the road plan. The paving prices went up pretty quick. On the revenue side, we are doing quite well. You know, the recycling revenue is way ahead of what we budgeted around. You remember how shaky the recycling?
Yeah, we weren't sure where.
So we have a pretty nice little surplus on the solid waste side. As you know, highway, we don't generate a whole lot of revenue, but on the solid waste side, we're doing quite well with revenue. I don't know what's happening town-wide, you know, in the other departments. We're not a huge revenue generator. But I'll tell you, on the expense side, if you came to me as part of a discussion with all of the department heads saying, geez, we gotta come up with $180,000, how are we gonna do it? I would have no choice but to start looking at capital and what project are we not gonna do. And, you know, quite frankly, like we always talk, we knew when we approved that road plan, we set roads on there as a contingency road. If we have time and if we have money, we're gonna do this and this. We recognized back in April that it was an aggressive schedule. We are just starting this week our first reclaim road. We're going to jump into Addison Road. Hopefully that will go well. We generally do those. We have more control, so we generally can keep the budget low on those. I have every reason to believe that'll be the case, but schedule-wise, you know, we're going to open bids in a couple of weeks on Spring Street and Lesnick. So we'll know that's a big nut of the dollar left in the road plan. And then we have Addison and Leach Hill still as reclaim projects. But the performance of the overlay list certainly doesn't have me sitting here saying, oh, we're all set. You know, we don't have to worry about it. So, you know, I think the discussion we'll end up having when those numbers gel up is not going to be a nickel here, a dime there. It's going to be what big project do we just want to put on the back burner or push off to next year, because that's the only way I can see coming up with $150,000 or $180,000.
David?
I respect Carl's plan that we have placed more on the labor portion of his productivity this season, rather than contracting out with money. We're relying on your in-house resources, and this is a position where it's a man on the ground with a shovel doing in-house work, and that's important. If this board wishes to start considering a hiring freeze, I would say make that as a separate discussion next week, future date, but not for the convenience of this evening. We have just discussed hiring fire department personnel, police department personnel. Don't implement the hiring freeze just because Public Works is here. That's a separate discussion. His position needs to be filled, and then if we want to slow down potential vacancies in the future, we can go that way, but not tonight.
Let me ask this question. Sue, Carl referred to department head, you referred to the department head meeting you just had. When is the next department head meeting?
The third Thursday, second Thursday of
Second
the month.
Thursday, the 11th, I believe.
Perhaps what we should do between now and the end of the year is look at, I mean, we do have a concern, you know, how we're gonna, you know, first of all, it's not clear how much money we're looking at. We don't know if it's all in this year, part of it's this year, it's all next year. We don't know those. And it's kind of hard to continue the operations that we need to do without knowing that. So that makes it tough. But I think that the position that we have in front of us, I think, is an important position. I think as Carl pointed out, I mean, the amount of money, yes, it's, you know, a certain amount of money, yes, it could be a portion of that, but I think that it's gonna be harder to make up that, for not having the labor, I think we're gonna suffer more than by having the labor. So I think perhaps one way to look at this then would be, is if we go forward with this labor position, but then make it known to the department heads what we really need to do, aware of this. And if we have to, we'll have a workshop meeting with department heads, either on a Saturday morning or one morning during the week, to have that discussion, have them come in and see where is possible, what is the possible, something in each one of their budgets that, you know, for a range of money that we might be looking for, whether it be $25,000, $20,000, $30,000 out of each department, that possibly might be something that we might have to earmark as potentially not expended to go towards this. And if it's found out that it's the following year or there's a change, then at least we'll have something on the radar screen. Scott?
I think a lot of this also falls upon, the department heads and finance to give us some information. I mean, we got information on our revenues tonight. And if you look at the bottom line revenues year-to-date, and that's, through June 30th of the last 3 years, our revenues are up by $320,000 year-to-date from last year, and they're up about $230,000 from '09. So if we feel comfortable that we're gonna have some revenue, I mean, again, it's $150,000, and that's a lot of money, but in a $20 million budget, that, I think we just have to, I don't wanna panic and say, no, let's not fill a position. I don't wanna be, cavalier and say, yeah, don't worry about it. But by the same token, if I can get some assurance that, okay, the way things are tracking, let's not be we're not overly, concerned because our revenues are a little stronger than what we budgeted or than what they've been over the last couple of years, then we can absorb this without a whole lot of, sacrifice in terms of our projects that we have planned. So I guess I'm not adverse to going, starting this ball in motion, and I might not be adverse to even hiring somebody, but I just kind of want to get, where do we stand? Because $30,000, although it's not 150, it's still 20% of 150, and
And we don't know how that, what is it, $3.5 million is going to be dispersed, and whether that will be dispersed this year.
Right, we don't know, but I guess,
communities.
I guess all I'm trying to say is that, are there opportunities to hire somebody temporarily? Can you hire a temp as a laborer? I mean, if it's a job that does not have a whole lot of skills, can we go through, hire someone temporarily where we're not maybe paying, all these benefits and just for the time being to get you through your schedule? This way we're not locked into an employee and we can kind of.
We have done that in the past.
So, I mean, I'm not adverse to that, but I think I just don't know enough.
Do you find you're drawing from a different pool when you hire temps? No, okay.
Well, Carl would need some direction as how to place the ad.
If you're asking me right now, I would feel more comfortable going with a temp person myself.
Temp is up to 6 months, right?
Yeah. I'd be me. I mean, right now, not knowing anything,
Okay, well, let's.
rather than hiring somebody and then,
What if we do this? What if Carl structures the ad in such a way that it could be a temporary position?
that could be.
That could be, you know, a full-time position, so that he doesn't screen anybody out of the ad or discourage somebody from applying, yet gives the flexibility on how things are in 2 or 3 weeks when he comes forward with
Fine with
somebody.
that.
Okay?
If may add one thing, I think, David, the difference between, say, this position and maybe police or fire is that, well, for one, we have made a conscious decision. We have been without a police officer now for 2 years due to budget reasons. We've decided not, we've held on to that requisition, but we have not filled it, so, you know, we've done that, and I think our police department has had to suck that up to a degree. And I just think there are certain things that you can, I think a laborer would be something that you could hire someone temporarily, because of the job skills and the set of skills that are required, whereas a police officer, it's a little bit more challenging. You can't really hire a temporary police officer. So certain jobs lend themselves to that, and I think this one may be appropriate to hire a temp for the time being, until we get a better picture of the lay of the land here.
At least Carl have some direction how to structure the ad, right? Okay?
Yep.
All right, enough discussion on this? Are we all set with this one?
If that's consensus,
so-
I'm ready to go.
All right, so we'll get on to Main Street parking delineation.
Yeah, reading your minutes last week, it appears that nobody really had a problem with the crosswalk idea. But the concerns raised were why actual spaces weren't delineated and the entrance or exit coming out of direct gas. And I can address both of those. The reason the board actually removed the parking space delineation, the very first plan for striping Main Street that we came in with had parking spaces delineated on it. And the board's concern was we were losing so many spaces because we were laying out legal parking spaces. So if we didn't have 20 feet to work with, we lost the whole space. And there was a recognition at that time, you know, through the business community and the board giving us feedback that, you know, 3 cars squeeze into this space, even though you can only fit 2 delineated parking spaces. We always see 3 cars there. So we decided that instead of laying out parking spaces, we would lay out prohibited parking areas. So we would just delineate the legal setbacks from hydrants and crosswalks and, you know, things that, that nobody can park here, but anywhere else is fine. So that was the approach we took. We can always go back and delineate the spaces, but the reason was we gained back 2 or 3 spaces, we felt, by just eliminating those lines. As far as the direct gas, there is no legal setback from a driveway. The law today would allow a police officer, if somebody was encroached 3 feet into that driveway opening, without us doing anything, the police could go there and have that vehicle towed. That the existing RSA empowers that. My suggestion would be just to warn people parking on Main Street that we go down there and just, whether it's a 4 or a 5 foot triangle, we just, from the curb line, we just put a little white hash triangle there that makes it clear, no parking right here, and keeps people off that end of that curb, and I think that's an easy fix for that.
Scott?
Okay, so what's our level of confidence with respect to losing parking spaces if we go with lines? Because is this a rock solid, we lose 3 or 4, or is it's 2? Because, you know, because when I come and I drive through all the time, I see the fact that we probably lose 2, 3, or 4 just the way people park.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me that you're confident that it's 2, then I think it's a win. If you're telling me it's 3 or 4, I think it's a push.
Yeah.
From what I can see, because people just do not, they park all over the place, and then there's a lot of gaps there. You know, I think it might just simply may be a push or a win for us to delineate.
I understand what you're saying, Scott, but I think there's 2 issues here. Number one, because I remember when we had that those spaces, the business community was concerned, because what happens now is you have a particular, and I'm not saying any particular business, I'm just saying, now all of a sudden, I've had maybe, 4 cars parking out in front of me, the ability, customers, they come in, they're in here they come in, they pick something up, they're gone 15 minutes, sometimes they stick around maybe half hour. But the people come and the people go. Now, all of a sudden, you're gonna tell me I got only 2 spaces out in front of here. Well, as owner of the business, I have, look what you're doing to me. So I think that was the concern that we had generally on Main Street, not just by one business, but I think by several of them. And I encounter exactly what you're talking about. I mean, whether you go to Sawyer's or no matter where you go.
Every weekend.
Where you go, but you know something? That's the nature of it, and I just, I think we chose, and I would not want to vote to put striping on Main Street without input from the people that's gonna affect all the business community out there. So,
Mr.
Dave?
Chair, I've seen in several places in the town, relying upon the informal parking situation increases the amount of cars that can be placed in some designated area. And I would like to continue that trend right here on Main Street. Granted, there's going to be occasional people who leaves too much of a gap between their car and the one in front of them, and potentially is reducing a slot here and there. But overall, in the long run, I believe most people are more efficient in how they're trying to cram cars into the available space.
Just a question, how many parking spaces do we have running from the, I'm just saying from the bridge to the library, shall we say?
I wanna say 34 is what we ended up with, but I really don't remember.
Okay, and so 34, I'm just gonna round it off, and so we're saying this might make the difference of 1 or 2 over 34? I'm trying to connect the dots here, and, I mean, I said on one hand, I say, well, do you need the box or not, but if I don't think the argument technically for me is going to be, well, we squeeze 1 or 2 more in out of 34. I don't think that's gonna make the difference in the business in the downtown community. I think the question's going to be, by designating the parking space, does it make it, do people have, what's the best way to put it? When people do come to park, they understand that is the designated spot I'm going in, and I'm not, do I go further this way or that way, or am I creating a problem in one way or the other, but it'd be designated, you won't have to worry about over 2 spots.
I mean, we do have them in like Pinardville, we have designated parking spaces, on the right side of, well, I know that in front of the Bartlett School, and there are designated parking spaces there.
That was all part of a state plan also when we did that.
I don't wanna make a big deal out of it, but, to me, most places that you go in a village or a town, they do have designated spots. And again, if we were to lose 5 spots, I'd be with you, but to lose 1 or 2 out of 34, if that even was the case, which I would argue the opposite. I would argue that from what I've seen, I think we lose easily 2, 3, 4, 5, because people just park anywhere, and they don't, I don't know. But again, I don't wanna waste the board's time if it's something that we don't wanna go, so.
Dave?
Carl, does any of this discussion we're having right now on parking designation influence your design for what you're doing with the sidewalks on Main Street? The either removing tip downs or installing tip downs and repairing the sidewalks? It's completely independent.
Yeah, I think they're completely independent. And just to answer the board's direction and completely take DPW off the hook, we can do it either way you'd want. It's no difference to us whatsoever. So whatever you guys decide, we'll be happy to do.
Thank you for tossing the ball.
So we can use sidewalk chalk for the next couple of weeks, Steve, and see if it does work. And if it does, then
You don't wanna talk to me about signs and the amount of white paint on Main Street, but that's besides the point.
you can
We
even set
knew,
up
we knew
fireworks,
you would
Steve.
bring that one up.
I haven't seen that much white paint since I was on Elm Street, but anyway.
Okay, let's
change.
move on to the road plan update.
Okay, well, I tried to give you the most up-to-date numbers. I don't know if you got the colored version, but with the exception of.
We don't have
We
any.
don't have anything.
Oh, you didn't put it in the packet? I'm sorry. Do we want to make a copy? Because it's kind of key that they get that.
I can run upstairs and do that if you give me a minute.
Yes.
Something that we need?
Not really.
Or just
What-
pass it around quickly.
Yeah, what it shows is kind of what I just said. If you look at the way the money is tracking, there's no giant surprises. The bottom line is, we're kind of, they're kind of, it's kind of on track, but there's no buffer building either. The contingency is still tight, whether or not we can get everything done. We're kind of on track, as far as we wanted to get all the overlay roads done by the end of June, so maybe we're a week or two behind with all the rain we got in May. That's to be expected. The only roads, overlay roads that are not completed are roads that it just makes more sense. For instance, Kennedy Hill Road just makes more sense while we're over there paving Addison. We'll pick up Kennedy at that time. So it's, I mean, those are the only things that we didn't get done. Tree removal, I think, was for all intensive purposes completed last week out on Addison Road. So the crew tomorrow morning will be out there to start actually installing drainage. Spring Street and Lesnick, as I mentioned, have been advertised. The bids are due in about 3 weeks. Once we see how those bids come in, we'll have a much firmer grasp on the bottom line dollars for the overall road plan. What engineering's kind of working on now, besides catching up planning board issues, is we're putting that sidewalk bid together, which makes that crosswalk discussion last week a very timely discussion. The sidewalk plan that you will ultimately get, if you don't recall from last year, it's, you all remember when we came to you with the inventory of all of our sidewalks, and we had it broken up into 3 phases. Essentially what we're putting out to bid is phase 1. It's the ADA compliance, the low-hanging fruit. All of the tip downs, the handicap tip downs where they don't exist, will be going all throughout town, most of which is in Bernardville, Steve, just so you know. But there's a lot of tip downs work that will be done. And that bid I hope to have ready soon. And we've also begun preliminary design on next year's big reclaim job, which thrills me. If we can get that done and be ahead of the curve, that's going to be a huge step for us next year. So the bottom line is, it's a good and bad story. The projects are tracking. They're as close to on schedule as I think they can be. Financially, there are no huge major problems that I see, but there's also not a nice comfort level either. I mean, we really need to see how the bids come in a few weeks. That
Carl, I had
is
a
essentially
question
it.
on that.
Sure.
Like, in looking at this, I mean, obviously, you know, you can't budget perfectly, but there's one that just jumps right out at me, and that's
Wallace Road.
Wallace Road. What happened there?
What happened there was well, I don't want to call it a math bust. You know how in paver we have the roads broken up into multi-sections?
Yeah.
Probably my error. When we figured it out, we called section 3 from Shirley Hill, the outer loop of Shirley Hill out to the town line, when in fact that overlay section was from Norman Road to the town line. So we did the proper section, and it turned out to be a math bust. So we started the year 50,000 in the hole, which, you know, we're gaining on.
Because looking back, I was trying to do some quick math. I think the number I was looking at was somewhere around, is it around 100 right now?
Yeah.
No, it's 2,000. It's like a $2,000.
No, I mean,
Yeah, if you go scroll down, it's gotta be.
it's gotta be 100, or close.
No,
correct?
because we made up a lot on crack sealing. Our crack
Oh,
sealing
no,
bid
it's, so
was
it's
very,
it's
very.
Oh,
actually
okay, okay, I was just-
$2,000.
Okay, I was looking at just the road, so you made up a lot on crack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of, we are, our
65,000
bid
on
that we
Okay.
awarded on crack sealing.
Okay, I was just looking, I only had to slip for a
Local.
short time, I was just looking at the
Yeah,
road
it was
part.
a local guy and
But he's
very, very
short.
favorable price.
There's
Now,
negative remaining.
This line for pit reclamation, this sand pit, what does that entail?
That's when we bring the big crusher in and all the stuff that gets brought to the transfer station, old pavement and concrete rubble.
Okay.
And we make the reclaimed gravel that we use on all our projects. We have to pay the crusher to come, but we crush all the old roadbed, asphalt, contractors from all over town bring us all that stuff and dump it down in the pit, and then we crush it and make gravel.
Is that cheaper than hauling it away or, because we have some now materials from the Barnard land purchase.
Yeah, it's
gravel,
cheaper.
But it's a lot.
We end up, the cost of that gravel, our bid price, it ends up being somewhere around between $1.50 and $2.50 a yard, which is much cheaper than actual processed gravel. And we get rid of this stuff that would otherwise be considered a waste.
Right, we have to pay.
Yeah.
That was my other question. We have to pay to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So we're saving that, we're not incurring that expense.
All right, can I jump on Steve's back just for a quick second? on
I don't
something?
know.
The shouldering, right? I don't wanna put any salt in anybody's wounds here.
I'll be silent.
When you go down some of these roads, first of all, I just wanna praise DPW. I mean, they did the back road and
That
like.
looks excellent.
It looks awesome.
That looks excellent.
It looks
does.
good,
It
it's a
does.
different material, and when I look at that, and then I look at what I thought, that's what I thought I would see on Mast Road.
Yep.
And it doesn't, it's a different material,
Well,
clearly.
there's two differences. One, on Back Road, I think we did use, because
Or
we didn't
dirt,
have much.
it's something else, it's sand, I don't know
Well,
what it is, but it's not.
No, it's a cleaner gravel.
Yeah.
But the biggest difference that you see between Mast Road and Back Road is the way the shoulder machine is designed. It simply scrapes across the asphalt, and it drags a 2-foot wide
Okay.
box and shakes and compacts the gravel out of that. Mast Road doesn't look bad when you're driving over at 35 miles an hour, but it's actually like this. And the gravel on the ground beyond the pavement, when we get done, we're raising the road a few inches, nice smooth surface. There's nothing out there for a couple of feet, so the box just tracks and makes a nice, consistent 2-foot shoulder. As we all know on Mast Road, part of the issues out there was we had ledge outcrops and bumps and valleys and drop-offs that were 5 or 6 feet off the road that, no
There's
matter
where-
how you do it, the shoulder machine's
There's
only
where
2 feet
your,
wide.
there's where your laborer comes in.
Yeah.
With a little hand work.
Yeah, yeah.
Handwork. The other thing I will say is that, having seen how quickly that shouldering work got done,
Mm.
I think that's a testament. I think we made the right decision as a
Oh,
board to
absolutely.
press getting that machine, because if I'm not mistaken, I think the back road was done in a couple of days.
Yeah.
There was one day I was just like, they finished this thing? I'm like, how the hell do they do that?
I think
It
at
was
this
so
point,
fast.
that, a good chunk of that list you're passing around got paved over the last 2 weeks, and already every
Yeah.
road we've paved has been shouldered, so it's.
Yeah, so
Well,
that,
one
I don't
thing-
know, I think, God bless you, I think, whether it's the machinery and the crew, I don't know, like, I was very impressed at how speedily that was done.
You know, I have to say one thing, there's a few other towns, I don't wanna mention names, that we abut us, that they don't do shouldering, and the year after the paving, I drive on those roads and I can see the edges already,
Yeah.
they're losing the edges on roads that were just paved the year before.
Yeah.
So kudos to those guys, they did a nice job.
Thank you.
But stepping back to that, are we actually going to do anything on Mass Road, or is this going to be the
Hey, you
finished
said you weren't
product?
gonna say anything.
I thought it was gonna sound, I only meant while he was speaking. But I'm just saying, because.
Let me,
Because now we're talking at the point of budget-wise that I'm foreseeing this portion that will be in the fall, and we're just saying, hey, we won't have the funding to do this, and this will be the second year. Actually, and as Phil had put it out, 30 years later, 32 years later, we're still not there.
let me repeat, I think, what I said with the line striping. If this board gives the department clear direction of what you want to see, we'll do it. When I left that night, and we've gone back and looked at the tape several times, I actually used the word shoulder machine, which we had a little communication breakdown, I think, because when I say shoulder machine, I'm picturing the box is 2 feet wide, it drags along the edge of pavement, and that's good. And you guys had a different image. So if you can tell me what it is you expect to see, I'll tell you if, yes, we can afford to do that, but to shoulder out that entire disturbed gravel area, it would be a different operation. It would be a grader, you know, the old-fashioned, we go down there with a grader and we move dirt around and we try to work to the pavement that's there. It can be done, but
So
it'd
they
be a
did
longer
use,
process.
like when they did the back road, I mean, and Tibbetts, I saw that it was the machine and it has a roller.
Right.
So they used a roller on Mast Road when they did
Yep.
that? Really? Okay.
It's
Just the way
exactly
that,
the same. It's
same
just-
process? Yeah, just a
the
totally
way
different
they-
outcome.
But when we were talking on Mass Road, in the end, and it was a vote on that, and it was, we talked about 4 feet. The shouldering machine, if I remember correctly, the conversation that was saying, well, hey, we could use that shouldering machine to do that. I mean, we as a board here, and obviously we know now, I didn't know if it was 2 feet or 4 feet, but I
Right.
know we had talked about making a 4 to 5
Yeah.
foot path.
Right.
Because we'd actually even talked about the home at the end with the fencing, and we even there was an amendment to the vote to move that and say, make sure that we would have that 4 or 5 feet. And so we didn't address that issue, and we didn't address the 4 or 5 feet.
Right.
And I understand, you know, so then I'll go forward as far as saying, so maybe there was this disconnect regarding the communication, but the vote was for 4 to, you know, that 4 or 5 feet, and that, in that last section also being able to have that same width and access.
Yeah.
As far as being from the professional end to say, oh, should it have been the edge or not, I couldn't have told you if that was gonna do 2 or 4 feet, so.
I mean, personally, I'd like to see another go at it, you know, to try to get it better, me personally. But Steve, you know, one of the good byproducts of last year when we decided not to do that bike lane was we diverted funds away from that to fix our pools, and should have said this under the announcements. I mean, the compliments that I'm getting from residents about the 2 pools that we put the new liners in has been phenomenal. More and more people are going to the pools. It's gonna be a hot week this week. We've had some hot weeks. The pools look phenomenal. So I think, you know, as Carl said, I mean, it's all about priorities, and and our departments will do what the board wishes. I'd like to see another go at it, but by the same token, that cemetery is a huge priority. You know, if we can, again, I saw that Goffstown back road done in like less than 2 days. I mean, maybe see another go at it, see what.
Yeah, but it's a different condition on the back
I know,
road
but,
and Mass
and I
Road.
appreciate that, but the material too was different. It was a much
The material
coarser-
isn't, the material I don't think is gonna make the issue. It's, what Carl is saying is that the machine uses the road for the guide as to what it's putting down, and
Which
that's
2
what,
feet.
that's the
Whereas a
difficulty.
grader would do the same thing, but over greater reach.
Yeah, and you know, again, it's hard to visualize when you just drive. You really gotta like walk and look in detail. The other difference, you know, back road, that was a maintenance overlay. So back road, the shoulders were in pretty good shape before we got there.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so we had 2-foot shoulders, consistent. We put 1.5 inches of asphalt, and then we went and did 1.5 inches of shouldering on top of that. On Mass Road, you get some areas where the shoulder's higher than the pavement. That will have to be scraped out. If you want consistent gravel, you know, if you want it to look consistent, that would actually have to be dug out so that we could make room for clean gravel over the top. So it's a much more involved thing on Mass Road. If you want to do, if the direction is we want 4 or 5 feet on the shoulders, you know, we're gonna be into those knobs of ledge, we're gonna be into the fence, we're gonna have to box out to make, you know, loam and everything else that.
I think the issue is safety of pedestrians and bicyclists, and you know, the fog line to the edge of the pavement is probably 2 feet, right, in most areas. So if you pick up another 2 feet or 3 feet, you're gonna get 5.
Yeah.
And there's a certain degree of safety there, so going to another 5 gives you 7, maybe that's a little overkill. But, I don't know, I have some degree of skepticism. I understand everything that you've said, but I think we could do.
See, the other thing is, we can't buy, you know, the equipment we have, for instance, if you wanted to do just disturb the minimal amount, we have either an excavator bucket, like a narrow excavator bucket, that we could go dig stuff out with, or we gotta put a bobcat in there, and the bobcat bucket's maybe 4 feet wide. So, you know, you're gonna disturb more just because of the equipment we have.
Right.
Or we take the excavator off a drainage job and stick it over there doing shoulder. So it's all possible. You know, the board tell us what you wanna see, we'll figure the best way to get it done. It can be done, it's just a matter of priorities at this point, you know, do you wanna do it or not? And the money's sitting there to do it with, so that's not an issue. It's just a time and resources.
We started this project as a sidewalk. We compromised it down to a bike path. And now we're sitting with what we have. I mean, somewhere along the line, I still look at it as one of the, if it's not the busiest, it's one of the busiest roads we have. And there's no sidewalk. We have crosswalks to nowhere. I mean, you've heard it all before. And it doesn't make sense that the busiest road that we have is the road that we don't have a sidewalk, but we're gonna go into other areas and we're going to see these bids. And we're gonna spend considerable money for a sidewalk for a small amount of people on dead-end streets. It does not make sense for this board as we proceed. That's just my opinion.
Dave?
Make the motion.
The motion was made and the vote was made already for this to be done.
Carl is asking for clean direction tonight.
The clear direction was made, I don't know on what date, maybe you could tell me. The direction was made that we were looking for 4 or 5 feet, and it was including even that last
Yeah, I think
section.
the
That vote was-
clarification
that
needs
vote
to
was
be
taken.
4 or 5 feet from the fog line, 4 or 5 feet up just shoulder. I think that's a clarification. There was some miscommunication there. I would have to agree. I've been biking that more, over the last month. And, there's a lot of people who
And
walk, run, jog, bike around there. And
especially,
unlike some other areas where there is a sidewalk, like say in front of Hannaford, or that is a little hairy it's a little hairy. But 3 feet plus a 2-foot fog line gives you 5. My thing was that, again, and I apologize for this, but when I guess I envisioned how much time and effort would it take to try to get that appearance or that feel of, what is our typical shoulder.
I think what Carl is saying,
Is
you're
that it's
gonna
impossible?
start running into ledge.
But even with
Well,
even if you're going 3 feet off the
No.
pavement.
Here's the problem, that this piece of that first discussion has gotten lost tonight, so I just wanna bring it back to the board's attention. When we started this conversation, it was gonna be one side of the road 5 feet.
Right.
Try to get 5 or 6. What we discovered when we got out there was the road does not, the road does not lay out to make that an easy thing to do. So, and more importantly, if you're on a bicycle, you legally cannot ride with, your face into traffic. You can't
Right.
be on the wrong side of the road. So we got into this discussion that night about how about if we try to do 3 feet on each side, which overall, we're getting 5 or 6 feet wider,
Right.
but we're splitting it on the 2 sides of the road. And that's kinda where the shoulder machine, and in my mind, it's like if we can get out 2 feet, we'll have enough on both sides. So, I would go back to, if we wanna just do 5 feet, I don't think there's room to do 5 feet on both sides without major, cutting.
5 feet of shoulder, not
Right.
5 feet of.
See, I don't think there's even room for 10 more feet of shoulder, if you got 5 on both sides, that area where there's kind of ledge on both sides of the road, I'm not sure you got enough to get 5-foot shoulders on both
I
sides.
guess where I'm driving at is that you have the fog line delineated, and it's about 2 feet, if that, from the fog line to the end of the pavement.
Yeah,
If you were to buy 2 or 3 feet, that gives you almost 5 feet of space to the right of the
Right.
fog line before you go off into a ditch or something. And to me, that's the best case scenario. I mean, that's as best as we might be able to get it. So that means we're only gonna disturb 2 to 3 feet of shoulder plus the 2 feet of fog
Yep.
line, and we kind of accomplished something, and hopefully you don't run into a lot of problems. 5 feet's not bad, that's the width of a sidewalk, correct? that's where, you know, I'm at.
Well,
There's a lot of.
I hear this board saying just make it 2 to 3 feet shoulder, but consistent looking material. So as it was down on Back Road, it's from driveway to driveway, not stopping 5 feet shy of a driveway. Make it consistent the whole length. And a better grade material that looks consistent. And if you have to excavate 4 inches, then so be it. That's part of the project that we're describing, in order to put consistent material down. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, we're overbeating this one to death, gang.
Mhm.
Just let him go do the work now.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, Carl?
We'll
You
have.
clear, Carl? You
I'm clear, I'm clear on what you want, I guess where I'm, if we don't have time to get everything on the list done, where will it fall in the priorities? Because if you said to me, let's do it, get it done next week, we could do that. Pull a machine out of Addison Road, send it over there and do that. But I'm just, in my mind, I guess I'm still not clear as the summer progresses. You know, we've got East Dunbarton Road out there, we've got the cemetery expansion out there, that all requires equipment. Where would this fall in the priorities of
Like
that?
in my world, I would say get it done before, during the fall. That is your drop dead, and if you didn't get it done, we would.
In other words,
We
it's
would
not,
lynch
it's,
you or
it's
something.
not a higher priority than Addison
It's not
Road.
higher than Addison, but it's
Well,
gotta get
that's-
done.
But
Right.
that's what his question
Addison's
is.
a higher priority for me.
That's what his question is, okay?
Before the ground freezes.
Okay,
Gotta get it
so
done.
it's on the list, but
And
it's
we'll-
not
we'll-
on the top of the list in order of progression.
Right.
We'll have several more updates between now and then, so we'll
Okay.
see how the year's progressing.
Okay.
I think we're as clear as we can be. Any other road plan questions?
Any other road plan questions?
Range, no,
Range Road.
that's next year.
Would you like a stop sign on Range Road?
No, I don't want a stop sign, I want it paved.
Why, is it a dirt road?
It is dirt right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That broken up.
it's bad.
All right, McFarland Johnson request?
Okay. Does the board have? Just getting that, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
your emails got lost with the massive emails for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Nice try, Carl.
Yes. McFarland Johnson, at my request, you know, they've been talking about this for a while, but one of the things on that road plan that we were just looking at, the board has committed to is the next phase of the ARA monies to complete the Pine Ridge drainage project. Obviously, that plan, the bid package needs to be put together. And there is a slight redesign that has to happen, because when we got to that point with the lorry and we started excavating, we discovered that the plans through that right-of-way were just not accurate. There's a water main that was there that wasn't shown on the plans, and a bunch of other things with the property lines, the surveys, none of it was accurate. Which is no fault really of
That's a
McFarland
village
Johnson.
water main?
Yeah. Yeah, so there were several things that made that
How old was
narrow,
that, how old was the main?
ancient.
Okay, I was gonna
Yes.
say, one of the original ones then.
Yeah, it's very
You remember, they
old.
put it in when,
No, that was before my time, Scott.
So anyway, I had asked McFarland Johnson, of course, you probably also could have guessed that their original proposal ran out of money long ago. The whole thing with the lorry stretching out over the winter and all that extra time. McFarland Johnson was involved in all those meetings and with the attorneys and sorting out the whole mess. However, for that whole time, they were out of contract. So this letter from them addresses two things. One, it addresses the change in scope to the original ARA project with the long overdue extension from the work Delory did, plus the additional work needed to redo the design and help us get a bid package together for the Pine Ridge drainage. As far as where does the money come from to pay for this adjustment, if the board was so inclined, at the end of 2010, when we were all pretty sure that we were gonna have some pretty significant change orders on that project. We encumbered a pot of money. I don't even remember the exact dollar amount now, but it was based on the early change order predictions that we were working on back in like November or December of last year. At the end of the negotiations and at the end of the construction, there is enough money left over from that encumbered money on that project to pay for this. And I even believe all of the DPW effort to make all of the residents whole that we've talked about over the months, it'll all come out of that pot of money. I think there's enough money set aside that we had allocated for the Lori's change order to pay for all of this stuff. So this doesn't have to come out of our current road plan allotment. We don't have to dig into this year's projects to pay for it. It would all come out of the money we encumbered for that project.
Scott?
Last year, the ARA funding was tied up because there was another community, Plymouth, I think it was. And did that money get released?
It did.
Okay, so is money available through ARA for us to do this project?
Yes, and
It's a
we.
yes, and then
Yes.
we have to kick in, is it 20 or 50%?
What happens is the ARA will pay, the amount of money that they made whole was what we cut out of the original project, which was like 114,700 or something.
Okay.
So we will get 100% of that from the state, just like the other ARA money. We'll get all of that, and then when we go to pay it back, they will forgive half of the payback. So
Okay.
in essence, we're gonna pay half of it back. So it's a direct grant, if you will, for 70,000, thereabouts. Half of that.
And this would complete the drainage work that,
Yeah, what
We
the
did no scope.
Pine Ridge
Scope.
phase, I should have brought a plan so we could show this, but at the bottom, the whole Knollcrest neighborhood drains down the hill. and
I
in
remember,
between-
I remember it.
You
so
remember it?
I'm good with it.
There's like a low spot on Pine Ridge that the water just can't get out of. This goes into that low spot and brings that water out all the way to East Union to the
Right.
stormwater treatment unit that we have on East Union.
Right. Okay. So what do you need from us? Anything on this?
Whether or not we approve this, so I can get McFarland Johnson working on the plans for that.
So it's
package.
whether or not we approve to go forward with for the rest of the drainage
Right.
on there, Scott?
I don't wanna throw another monkey wrench into it, but I will. Obviously, this is a project that has been in the works, but knowing that we encumbered money last year for this, couldn't you argue that if we have $150,000 shortfall potentially in retirement, that this would be a project that we wish simply wouldn't do? And I'm just trying to,
Yeah, but the incumbent money can't be used for anything else except this project.
or roads, right?
No, now if it's encumbered, it's gotta be encumbered with a contract.
Or, Sue's gonna kick me under the table, if you just release the encumbrance, it would go back into fund balance.
Fund balance, and then you would.
Take out.
I'm just throwing this out. I don't know I don't know where it looks like we're ahead on revenues, but just trying to,
Let's make clarification here. We're getting revenues and expenses mixed up here. And the state retirement is gonna be an expense, not a revenue, because what the state paid, that 35% for,
they're no longer
police and fire, they're
paying.
no longer
Right.
paying. It was
And we're
never
gonna have to
counted
expend
as
it.
revenue. Now we're going to get an expense bill.
Right,
Okay.
so
So
we have
we're
to
gonna have
pay.
to
We have
pay-
to stay within our total appropriation, because I haven't heard them pass anything saying that we can increase our appropriations by the amount they
Right.
downshifted. So you have plenty of money in your fund balance to use to offset the tax rate, if that's what you're worried about.
Right.
Can I ask a question?
But we still have
Yeah,
to stay
just hang
within
on
our
1 minute.
total
Right.
appropriation.
Right. Steve?
I think what Scott's talking a little bit also is this project, as far as what project priorities. And I understand this was part of the bigger picture, but you're talking, and I understand the low spot on Pine Ridge, that it must puddle up there, is that what we're talking about? How large of a problem is that?
If you're the guy whose backyard gets inundated for 2 or 3 days every time it rains, it's a pretty big problem.
In this,
For me, I don't see it from my house, but for him, it's a pretty big problem.
He sees it from every window.
Yeah. So, you know, the whole project down there.
and this project's gonna cost roughly how much? Roughly.
150 or so. It's on the road plan sheet.
For
where
one
it's
house.
floating around.
For one house?
Well, no, it's the
the
whole
whole
swale
area.
system.
The whole
Yeah, it's
valley.
all
Well,
there.
but what he was saying is that honestly, if I'm higher up on the hill, it's not resulting in a problem, so it is having an effect there, and I agree and I sympathize with that, but we're talking, you know, from a drainage end, it's not coming from, it's not affecting people higher up on Pine Ridge,
No,
obviously.
no, it's the low points.
You know.
It's the folks that abut the low points.
And this is where I sit sometimes, and I look at this, and I look at some of the smaller projects we're doing with high-cost tickets to them. You know, this is one of them, Spring Street is one of them. And then we look at other things and we say, too big to tackle, and we hide away from it after 30 years, where it has higher impact and higher visibility. I don't understand some decision-making process or what metrics we use to get there. And so I do agree with Selectman Gross regarding, I look at this as saying, it's just a lot of money for the impact we're getting when we're starting to look at projects saying, which ones do we want to do? I mean, we're doing some small impact areas with high ticket costs.
And the only difference with this one, Steve, you could argue, is that you're getting a 50%
Correct,
discount.
I understand
You know,
that.
on a project, whereas we don't get 50% discounts on Spring Street, on paving of
I know,
Lauren
but
Lane.
it's still,
whatever,
but there's
so.
still dollar figures
Or
attached
doing
to it,
shouldering work on Mass
Right,
Road.
oh, yeah, okay.
you know, but I mean.
Carl, is there an expiration date on the availability of
Of
the
the RMA?
match?
Oh, yeah. It's probably
So
gone.
We can't wait
by.
3 years and
Oh,
say
gosh,
we
no.
want to apply for it. It's
We
gotta be,
put this on our agenda for next week, if possible.
No,
We
I
just
mean-
got this tonight. I mean,
This-
When
this
do
is
we have to
simple.
have this, when do we have to decide?
We've already applied for it. We've already said, I mean, we applied for the RMA.
Right.
Doesn't mean we have to spend it,
Right.
but the
Yes.
contracts are all up there. We've accepted it. The governor and council, I believe, has accepted it. So we're ready to go out to bid. You know, we're ready to go. So that's the stage we're at. There's not the tight deadlines, you know, the original RA, you remember, had the 90 days or whatever, all the
Okay,
projects had
so,
to be under
can I
contract.
get a bottom line on this thing? So, I see all these different numbers here. I see the last page is a bottom line, sub-consultant total cost, 15,824.85.
828.85.
I'm sorry, 15,828.85, I apologize.
16,000.
So 16K. That's McFarland Johnson's additional construction services plus all the work that's involved with for them. Then there is the actual construction cost itself, which all total you think is about 120,000 roughly, and then I'm sorry?
I think it was 150.
Okay, it doesn't, 150K, and we're getting forgiveness of half of that?
We're getting forgiveness of
88?
half of the 114.7. So we're getting about 72,000 back.
72K back.
Why do I have 88 in my mind?
Reality is it gonna come in at 114?
It'll come in over the 114. The state only would give us what they removed from our contract originally.
Okay.
It's the 114.
114.
Whatever, I don't remember the
All
exact dollars, but I remember the 114 part, so that's what they're gonna give us. Doesn't matter what the bids come in, if they're over 114, all we're getting is 114 from the state.
Scott, you had another question?
Yeah, I mean, where do we think this is gonna come in at? 200,000?
150. Whatever's on that road plan sheet, that's our estimate. I think it's 150.
it says complete within the scope of our grant, 114. Then under cost, 75,000.
That cost to us?
Yeah, so that's 75 additional, I think, is the way we built that.
Can we, again, I don't know if this is the time, I don't know if you have all your numbers, and I mean, we just got this tonight. Can it wait a week until we get, okay, here's the scope, here's what, I'd rather know what
Well,
we're getting ourselves
I guess,
into.
I guess the only concern I have is that we've been discussing this project for quite a while, we've approved everything on it, okay? We're getting a considerable amount of money to do this drainage project that's been an issue here for a long time, okay? It's been in the works, okay? And you know, quite frankly, I have a problem with, you're gonna put something like this on hold, but you're telling Carl to go and use all this other money and all this other equipment to do a shoulder on Mast Road that's never been in a plan anyplace. So, that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. And
Dave?
Carl, the 15,800 can be covered by the encumbered funds. Then why are we discussing this anymore? We just need a motion, right?
I don't know whether, I don't even know how much we've encumbered.
We encumbered, I think, $120,000, which was gonna be for all the change orders and everything associated with the change orders. We've paid or will pay, I have the requisition on my desk, the final Delory invoice. And there is sufficient funds left to pay for this and the work we've been doing on all the abutting properties. You know, we went in and cleaned up things. We still have some more work to do on driveways, et cetera. But there's sufficient money in that encumbered pot to take care of that project.
I would like to see everything on this project wrapped up, and if it means paying the bill and getting it wrapped up.
Just to
Not,
delineate.
not stringing this out for another
Well,
2 or
and
3
just,
months.
as Scott pointed out on that last page, there are two components to this. The new work, which is I think what Scott's struggling with, do we go further on the project, is about $9,000 of this amount of money. The
Out of
rest
the
of it,
15?
yeah.
Okay.
The rest of it is what they over-expended doing all the work last winter. So that's already work they've performed and completed and done.
We need to honor that.
Which, so that there's two components. We can hold back on Pine Ridge, but there's still the 6,000.
We're gonna honor
Would
our
you like
debts.
to solve the
We're
federal?
gonna honor our
No,
debts.
the recommendation now is not to have a debt ceiling. That's the latest one that came out today.
So, we've thrown enough numbers out. What is the tally to do the project to the town?
For,
This Pine Ridge?
well, there's six,
But we technically owe them.
approximately $6,000 is money owed for work already performed.
Okay.
The 9,000 is if we want to put the Pine Ridge work out to bid. I believe that the Pine Ridge work, we anticipate the bid would be about 150 for construction. So 150 plus an year, about 160,000. We probably have a cushion on that spreadsheet because who knows how the bids will come out. But that's what I think it is.
You think it
With-
will come in at how much, 150, is that what you said?
Yeah,
And
What do we
And
encumber?
Grant, and the grant covers
114 and change.
114 was the project, because it's half of 114 is the grant, right?
Right.
Basically.
We'll borrow 100% and then
Right.
pay back half.
So, but I guess the question though was, that 114 that you talked about, what does that represent? What we're getting as ARA money?
It's the ARA money we're getting. So instead of 700,000 when the project
That's not
started,
the money we're getting. We're getting half of that.
no, we're getting 114,000 and change. We pay back half of it. We get all the money up front.
The estimated project cost was 114. So the special article is written.
the math is right. On this
Half of
form,
that
you're anticipating expense of $75,000 overall to
Can't vote on
complete the
75
project.
I
So,
can't.
it's in the road plan.
Right.
Get it done this year.
With all due respect.
It's gonna be like
I
93,000
cannot-
is what I'm
I know that,
getting.
but I've had all these numbers, no one, I just, I don't know. You can.
These
always
are
vote
all the
no.
numbers.
I understand that, but typically, I would expect that I would have, here's what was encumbered, here's what we owe based upon last year, here's what this new thing is, and again, you could say, you know, Scott, it's your responsibility to figure it out at the meeting, but,
No, I'm not gonna say that because I don't think that's appropriate.
okay. But you know, here I'm trying to do all these numbers in my head, and it should be, you know, kind of spelled out. I have no problem. We owe McFarland Johnson $6,000 for work they did last year, fine, I'll make a motion that we do that, and I'll vote for that. But to go ahead with the project, I do want to know, okay, we go ahead with this Pine Ridge thing, here is the total cost, here's what we're going to get in ARA funding or reimbursement, so our net cost to us is going to be X. So just like I tell my kids, when they go to a store and it's like, look, but these shoes are 50% off. Yeah, but the shoes are $200. I mean, you know, I'm not going to spend something just because I'm getting half off. I mean, is it worth $100,000 to fix a drainage issue? That's what I have to ask myself. Even though I'm getting all this money from the state or the feds, is it worth it? And
Okay,
that's what I don't.
but I guess I'm hearing two things from you, Scott, okay? I hear the disappointment that you don't have the numbers in black and white in front of
Right.
you, and what it's gonna cost. And now I'm hearing that we need to make the decision after the board's already voted to go forward with this in the past, okay? And now that we're gonna look at what the town is actually gonna spend, and we're gonna go look at this drainage project, and we're gonna decide whether or not it's worth the money that the taxpayer money that we're gonna spend is worth fixing that drainage problem. I'm hearing two things
And
from
you
you.
heard it correctly.
Okay.
Because for one, yes, I do think that we should have what the cost breakdowns are, and that's that. Secondly, I do think sometimes we have to make decisions all the time, and we talk about revisiting road programs. Yeah, when things are thrown our way, curveballs, whether it be changes in shifting in retirement, or a road that's in horrendous shape and we have to fix it, or a slope that fails and we gotta come up with money. Yeah, you gotta take a look at everything and say, okay, I know that we approved this 6 months ago, but we gotta shift now because something got thrown in our laps. So, yeah, it would be very common for any government to say, yeah, we approved this a year ago, but now circumstances are changed, and in terms of the priorities, this was number 2, now it's number 8, because this, and this happened. I don't know. I mean, I believe this is a worthwhile project, and I've supported it in the past. But things have changed. Since the last time that we did this, we kind of had an estimate of what it would cost. Now that estimate is higher.
If I could just clarify.
Yeah.
It's not. The estimate's lower. When you guys approved, from the numbers I'm hearing, which I gave away my copy of that, but if what Selectman Pierce has, he's got closer to 190,000 is on that spreadsheet. I don't expect it to come in at that. The engineering was less than we thought. The bid, we won't know till we open the envelope, but I believe the bid price was, our latest estimate was about 150. I expect this to come in around 160. This anticipated 190. So I think we're ahead of where we thought we would be. And the 114 has never changed in the last 2 years. That's what the Warren article said, that's what it's always been. So it's, I can certainly pull it all together into one little memo, so all the numbers are right there and clear, but it's,
All right. Why don't
it
you
really
do
is
that,
that
Carl?
simple.
Why don't you do that, just so that we have them in front of us, okay?
Yeah.
Would you want a motion tonight, though, on what we owe McFarland Johnson?
If we could get it, that would,
Okay.
I don't have any problem. How much is it?
let's see,
Is it 529,870, or is it more than that?
well, it'd be the 15,8 minus 89.55. So, this, 3, 7. Boy, it's hard to do this.
With numbers, I got Excel right here.
Well, it's 15,828.85.
828.85?
Yeah, minus 89.54.80.
Minus that,
89.54.80?
Yeah.
that amount, minus
Right.
that amount.
$6,874.05.
$6,874.95
No, 5 cents.
and 5 cents.
Motion that we pay McFarland Johnson the designated amount.
So, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
So this will be next week. We'll take action on this.
On Pine Ridge, the discussion
Of all the
Pine Ridge.
costs. Yep.
and Carl, you'll have those figures
Yes.
for us?
You're doing so well, Tyler.
Updating engineering fees, is that part of, is
We
that
don't have
part
that
of this, or
either.
is that separate?
Well, this one's a very simple one. I hope. Back 4 or 5 years ago, when we brought engineering in-house, we started charging fees, we set a price of $50 an hour. That's never been adjusted, so over the last 5 or 6 years, salaries and benefits have crept towards that number. Our question is, do we want to look at adjusting that fee that we charge? You know, right now it's a flat $50 an hour. Talking to Sue last week, she threw out a great idea that I thought was warranted some discussion, and that was we take whatever the town engineer's salary plus benefits are, plus some multiplier. And then it just automatically gets adjusted when salary and benefits get adjusted.
You have a
the
certain
billable rate.
administrative cost
Right.
Exactly.
on top of that. Supervision, your vehicles, you name it, that
Yeah.
Have a
factors in.
formula and you calculate it every year.
And there's one other thing, though, here in this discussion, too, that the planning board has a concern with. And I don't know how widespread this is. I don't know if it's done intentionally because of the rate, but the planning board has a concern that the rate that we charge for the service, in other words, when plans come in, she reviews it. And there's a lot of times that the planning board feels or has the concern that she's doing the engineering for them at that rate, where if they went to a regular engineering firm, they'd be paying a lot more money. So that's been.
That's a valid concern.
That's been one concern, you know. Now, it could be, you know, it's one thing, and I don't want to, you know, we have a lot of people who are residents of the town, and they come in with a plan that require a little bit of engineering. A lot of them, we had one fellow in over there, you know, he took sketches, you know, he did the best that he could, you know, on a plan for what he was doing, and he came in. I hate to see some people all of a sudden get told that, well, we can't review that here, you're gonna have to go to an engineering firm or something like that. So somehow, you know, with a balance, but then again, sometimes you know, a concern that you have a large one that I don't wanna, my engineering company to spend a lot of time on that, because we'll give it to the town, and at $50 an hour, we'll have the town engineer calculate it, because it's gonna be going through their planning board anyway, so kind of some concern with some kind of a balance between
Well,
you, so.
Just to be clear, because I know exactly what you're talking about, I share your concern, but I don't want somebody listening to get the wrong impression. Megan doesn't design anything for anybody, but what happens is, she's so thorough in her review that she gives them 4 or 5 pages of comments that are part of what a normal engineering firm should be doing when they design the project. So I just don't want anybody to
No.
think that, you know, she's there designing and.
No,
doing
but there's a
great
lot
stuff.
of times when they bring something through, and just, it's just the way Megan is. Megan will look at that thing and say, oh, well, you know, when you have this kind of a thing, you should have this, and she'll start doing this, and this is, you know,
Yeah.
that's just Megan,
Right.
so.
No, but that's a valid concern.
And, you know, we're having that discussion here at the board, let's say it's detention ponds or whatever it is, and the board is asking her, she's coming out, so right there, during the public hearing, she's telling them how to design it.
So my suggestion, and I don't think I put it in the email that you don't have,
No.
but it was,
It's not in that email.
Sue's formula to get to the same number that I had put in the email would have been Megan's rate times 20.
20%.
That's usually about right. I mean, 20% administrative is not uncommon. You deal with, it's dealing with payroll, it's dealing with,
Yeah.
And
keeping.
other materials that we didn't build in.
Right. Right.
Well, the other thing that you factor in is, you know, if you're giving people vacations and that also, so even though you take their salary, that's not really their salary.
Right.
Because you have to then almost take their total compensation, which means any personal days, any sick day, you name it, then you divide, and then on top of that, you add administrative costs like vehicles and supervision, et cetera. So that 20%, that's not surprising.
Just,
If-
just, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Steve?
I'm just looking at the McFarland Johnson one, their overhead's at 169%.
Which, by the way, is low.
So
You know, for
120 to me
consultants,
is
that's low.
not even in the ballpark. Just a thought.
120 what? Percent, you mean? What are you talking about?
You, essentially, her salary plus 20%.
Right, it's 120, right?
120.
Right.
McFarland Johnson's at 169 right now, and he's saying that's low.
Lot
You're
of
saying
management overhead.
69% over?
I'm just making an observation.
Overhead of a
Right.
large corporation.
You said it was 160%.
69% is a.
Oh, 69%.
We're just talking in
Yeah, this
generalization
is,
anyway.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
The
mean-
way we came with the 20% is to get to the number that you were
Yeah.
estimating for all the cost.
Yeah, I'm just
Yep.
making that observation that for some reason, when we pay for these services, it's 170%.
Well, we're
But if
not
we're
a
gonna,
profit-making company.
I'm not saying we're making profit. I'm
Okay.
just saying that if that's 170, either we're paying some very good profit or that 120 is low. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Occasionally Megan consults with Carl, and we could raise that up to 169.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you joke about it, but I'm just saying, you know, for some reason, we feel very free at 170% paying this, and that's all I'm saying.
That's
I
good.
mean, we tend to do this on the short. And I don't think anyone would say that the town of Goffstown is making profit
Carl,
here.
if this formula were to be implemented, when would it change during the course of a year? Would it
Upon
be
the
state?
board's vote, I think.
Pardon?
No, it would just
I,
be
no,
as
I
the
think,
rates as July, right? I mean,
well, it could be January 1st, because
Right.
that's when your health insurance goes
Right,
up. It could
okay.
be, and also revisit on July 1st.
Oh,
when
you're
the-
talking about the, when
Yes.
it would be
Rates go up.
adjusted,
So
yes.
would,
Just,
would,
yeah.
would people
Right.
know what the rate would be 1 or 2 months ahead as they approach the planning board?
They certainly could, 'cause I think we know,
Right.
when the board approves the budget, we know what the percent increase for.
Is this a rate that's posted so that firms know
Yes.
when
Yeah.
it is? And then if
Yeah,
you
they
could
have
say,
a list of all the fees.
okay.
Yeah.
Planning
And then
department.
it could be advanced, 2 months from now, it's anticipated an increase or.
Right, you would have to go through a public hearing process to change your rate. Right now, you're at a flat $50 an hour.
but you wouldn't if you
And
did
you-
the other way.
and-
You'd have still have a
right.
public hearing, but then it would be
You'd still have
set.
your, public hearing and your margin.
But then you'd
that
be
you
done.
factor.
Yeah.
Right, and then it will be automatically
easier.
adjusted whenever you decide if you wanted to change on January 1st and July 1st. We can do semi-annual adjustments.
Right, well, we can't go retroactive to.
And just another piece, McFarland Johnson, when they're doing that 169, they're not saying that's profit, because they have another line saying profit, and then you put another percentage number in. So they're saying that's their overhead. That's their cost. They're at 170, then they tack on profit percentage here on these sheets. So I'm just saying, if we're going 120, that's awful generous, if that's what we're doing with the fee.
Yeah, well, we're not costing out
We're not for
facility
profit.
or office or any of that.
Right.
But, they're counting all of that.
But then one argues,
What do
should
we-
we? Should we?
Should we?
Because technically, Megan gets administrative help from Kathy, I'm sure, or Alex, or other people
Other
help
people are
her.
involved.
And there's a cost there, and then the building and all that stuff, so it may very well be more than 20%.
Or we're paying very high on this, that's one of the two.
Yeah. So Carl, what was your thought on that? Do you have a particular,
I like I came in with a flat, just adjust the flat fee, but I like the formula idea better, and whether it's 120 or 160, whatever it is, I'm okay, just tell me what formula you wanna use and we're good with it.
I'm just curious, what is the going civil engineering rate? If someone took a plan and they gave, what's it, CLD? CLD, whatever. If they took that plan and they gave it to CLD, and it was an engineer with similar type of an experience, say 5 years' experience, are they charging $110 an hour, $1.90, $1.50? What are they charging?
Somebody at Megan's level would probably be 135, 145 an
Okay.
hour.
Now, even though you're factoring in profit, et cetera, and to me, when you say 50 and 140, wow, huge spread.
Well, and then that 135 doesn't count the markup Steve's talking about. That's the billable rate. So then on top of that, you got the 169 and the 10% profit. So you're actually paying, because that's all for the.
Well, I think we gotta
expenses you
revisit
don't
this
see.
one. 'Cause this is not like, you know, the $25 inspection fee or whatever. I mean, this is big, big money.
Yeah.
And it could very well speak to why there are concerns in the planning board, because if that's the case and you're a shrewd, you're a wise person, coming up with a plan, hey, just do a kind of.
30% design.
Well,
and
Yeah, give me a 30% design. She's so good, she'll fix it for you. She'll tell you exactly where to go, and and then I'll just save you at least 25 man-hours.
What
you know?
happens a lot of times is, you know, the planning board turns around to the applicant and says to the applicant to, you know, or they'll say something, you know, and have them work out those details with Megan. Now, how many hours, how much time does Megan spend with the applicant?
Well, those
Let's
are all
see.
billable, but at.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that was, you know, sometimes that the concern is that that's, go back to an engineering, go spend your money, come in with a plan, and bring the plan in, and we'll look at the plan, we'll either approve the plan or not. We're not gonna tell you, but what's happening is now they're being told what changes, what modifications to make to the plan so that it's acceptable to be approved by the board.
Now, that would be a revenue line, correct?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
her?
Oh, yeah.
So we would know how many hours she billed out last year then? Roughly how
Finance
many
bills it
hours?
out.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, are we
off the top of
talk,
my head.
cause that's the other thing, are we just talking that she does only 10 or 20 hours, or a year, I
Well, it
mean?
depends.
No,
I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying.
It depends
I'm
on,
just saying-
on,
What I'm
Level of
saying,
activity
it
is
tells me
gonna
how much
change.
time, you know, we're talking about
Yeah.
this, if she, you know, if she bills out 10 hours a year, I
Oh,
guess
no,
it's.
she bills more.
I mean,
Way-
I'm
way more than that, but
I'm
it's-
exaggerating the point, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
get at. I
But
mean,
you got
As you know, I
if it's
mean,
50% of her
development's-
time.
works operations,
If it's
that's not
50% of
solid
her time, then it's
waste.
considerable sum.
What else do they get? What other revenues do you get in
We
public
did-
works operations? Because you've got a lot.
In public works operations, well, we get reimbursed when all our staff that works for sewer.
Okay.
I don't know if the transfer from them,
No, there's a
No,
transfer
that's-
hour.
No,
That's a transfer out.
different
We
thing.
transfer from enterprise fund. Highway block grant is in there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good chunk. Got smaller ones.
Can't be. Because it's not enough. Highway block grant is a lot more than 476 for the budgeted amount.
Are you in?
Public works operations, it says that we've budgeted a $476,000 revenue. To me, that doesn't make, I thought that grant was
The block, the block grant's 300 and something.
300? Oh.
Yeah.
I think the lion's share of it is block grant.
Yeah.
Well, let's assume not waste time on that, but I think that would be, what Steve said would be
It's
a
in your
good.
monthly budget report.
Budget report?
Yeah.
Okay. Take a look at that.
Okay,
I'll
so-
take a look at that.
So how do we wanna go forward with developing this formula for Megan? Because we're gonna have to we have one public hearing, right? On this issue, Sue?
Yes.
We only need one public hearing.
But it begs the question, is this a better approach for some of our other fees as well?
As far as what?
Well, this one is the formula,
Formula
because
approach.
rather than having to constantly keep revisiting things, whether it be inspection fee or this fee or that fee, I mean, if our job is to, we're not allowed to make.
Let's not mix the other stuff. This is,
Right.
this is a separate issue, which is, I mean.
It is unique, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but an inspection fee is for a one-time inspection, where this is not
I know, it's
comparable to
hourly,
that.
right, it is unique.
This is different, so as far as the formula though, I mean, is that something we wanna have Carl come back with a formula, or is this something that we
I-
want him to do
Yeah,
anything
I think the formula is the way to go.
Yeah, but the formula, is that we're gonna leave that for him to develop the
I
formula?
think Carl and Sue, yeah.
Well, the one thing too that I could provide you, I just don't know it off the top of my head, but we could look back over the last couple of years, how many hours we've
Right.
billed out, so you have a good idea of what the total nut is. Cause I think that's, I mean, it's obviously dropped, there's not much development going on, so compared to 3 years ago, it's not as big as it used to be, but, I could get you that anyway, so you
All
can
right,
kinda see
and
it.
then maybe come up, work with Sue and come up with some kind of methodology and perhaps a little bit more specific on a formula?
The only thing that I would respectfully ask is that
List
it's
everything
not,
that's in
it is not just salary.
Right.
Every single thing, pension contribution.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's all was in there.
Every
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
single
yeah, oh,
thing,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then sick time, vacation time, all those intangible things that, and then on top of that, it's the 20% administrative.
Well, I was just gonna say, does 20 sound okay, or should we be looking at something different?
Well,
That's a start.
yeah,
That's a start.
I mean,
Yeah.
let the two, sit down and
It's-
figure that out, maybe it's 25, whatever it is.
I,
Okay.
I support that concept, and so
Okay.
let the two of them work out the details and make a proposal.
Okay.
We've given them
You
enough
okay with that,
guidance.
Steve?
And I think the one thing that we have to recognize is that when, years and years ago, when we talked about this, the engineer, that it would, pay for itself through, we have to kind of keep, even though the building is down, in terms of the permits and these reviews, if we stay true to that it's supposed to pay for itself, then we're charging an hourly rate that's commensurate with that, then I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Here's your Public Works Highway Block Grant and
Okay.
Highway Department revenues.
Okay, so it looks like it's about 30, last year was 38,000.
This was, this report is May, but
May.
that's what we budgeted, 476 for the year,
Right.
and only, 38,000.
About 38,000 would be other.
The rest is Highway Block
Right.
Grant, which will be less, it will be in the 300 range, like you said,
Yeah.
this year, because they did away with
Right.
the $30 state fee for motor vehicle
Yeah.
registration.
And I would guess of that 30, a big chunk of that is with the fee, is what we're talking about right now. I mean, we have street opening permit fees, and we
That's
have
minuscule
things like
stuff.
that, that's,
Right.
the biggest chunk of that is probably this.
Okay.
So I can have clarification, was that 38,000, what is in there for revenue above and beyond the highway block grant?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, okay.
and most of that 38 is probably from Megan's engineering time, review
Okay.
time.
Okay. All right, so both
We'll work on it, yeah.
you're fairly clear on
Yep.
on where you're going with that one?
Yep.
Okay. Just wanna make-
And we will itemize everything that we considered in that rate, so that you can see it,
Okay. And,
or the formula, I should say.
okay, good. Anything else?
Nope.
Good to go?
I'm good to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Mr. Chairman, I do have,
Oh, hold on a second, Carl, I gotta give you some. I'll give it to him in the hallway.
Did you say you had one more thing there, Sue?
yeah, I have a couple things. One is I wanted to let you know that the Cable Franchise Committee has been meeting, and I would like to share that in a non-meeting with the board. Before we go to public hearing, the committee is gonna have a public hearing, like public ascertainment.
When do you want to do that?
August 2nd. It's a
Okay.
Tuesday night. This isn't the Selectmen's public hearing, which is required by state law once you have a franchise to put forward. This is just to get public input right now in terms of their satisfaction with Comcast. So that's August 2nd at the high school. So I wanted you to be aware of that. Also, the Common Oversight Committee was established to manage a common trust fund.
Right.
As you remember last year, there was only like $20 left, so we told the trustees to close that trust fund,
Right,
because it was costing more to manage it than,
right.
and there's no money going into it.
Common as in town common.
Town
Right,
common, right.
over here. This
So,
one.
so at this point, since there's no money in the fund, and the Common Oversight Committee, which included 2 members of the public, the Parks and Rec Director, the Chairman of the board, and DPW Director, I think, there were 5 people.
Disbanded.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would suggest that you disband it, but then the town common has to be managed by some department, so who's going to manage it and budget
Parks and Rec.
for that?
Right. Parks and Rec, right?
Both of them have done work, and when you look at the work that's got to be done there, you've probably noticed the waves and the bricks. I don't know.
It's more of a
Public Works
park.
has done a lot of work.
Put a headstone there and transfer it to the cemetery.
Cemetery. Kinda like Roy Park, you put the headstone.
I'm sorry, Sue. Go ahead.
It seems like it's more
Could be Public
geared
Works or
towards
Parks.
public, towards,
Use, right, but
some-
there's gonna be some heavy work to be done, and
But
that
there's
would
no-
fall more.
no-
But the majority of it seems to be maintenance.
Maintenance, right, and then if there was
It
heavy
is.
work, just like there was sometimes heavy work at our parks, Rick contacts
Let me
DPW and
ask
they.
the question, when we talk about mowing at the cemetery, we say DPW.
Yep.
And that's not exactly heavy work.
Yeah, but it's a little bit
Cemetery
different.
Cemetery
work.
division is under the Parks and
Yeah,
Rec.
but cemetery,
I mean, under public
I'm
works.
cutting the grass at the cemeteries is a little different than cutting the grass in the fields,
Fields.
because cemeteries are a little unique. So, I mean, if you wanna start giving.
Tell me the mowing is different from grass
More
there.
trimming. There's more
I
trimming.
gotta hear
No,
this
it's a
one.
little different.
Let me hear this one, I wanna hear it. I'm
It's a
dying
little
for it.
different.
You're dying
Cutting-
for it.
Cutting, he is dying for it, huh? Yeah, right.
There's more trimming in the cemeteries.
That's
I,
right.
I'm not saying, but it's still grass work, that's all I'm
Considerably
trying,
more.
it's
Yeah,
grass,
but
it's not heavy work.
It's not straight cut, get the equipment off the tree and go cut the grass and then go back.
It's, all I'm saying is that, I'm not saying it should be DPW or Parks and Rec, but using heavy work as the qualifier, it doesn't fall in because we're doing it differently in the cemetery, that's all I'm saying.
So shall I talk to DPW and Parks and Rec? I mean, you
Flip
don't
a
have a
coin.
preference?
I don't.
Why don't we talk to them,
I
see who
personally,
wants to take it on?
yeah, I personally think it's a Parks thing, but that's just me.
No, I do too, I think it's a park.
Parks.
I do, but.
Because it's a park.
It is a
Who's-
park.
who's
It's
our-
functions.
It's a park.
It
Who's our
functions-
representative of Parks
If we
and
put a,
Rec?
Well,
if
yeah,
we,
let's,
go.
let's look at it this way, okay? Regardless of whenever something major needs to be done in a park, it's coordinated with Public Works, so you would do the same
still
thing
doing
there.
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Same thing with the rail trail, that's gonna be a Parks and Rec thing, but they're gonna contact DPW when they need something big, I mean, that's just the way it's gonna go.
So does the board want Selectmen Gross to take that back to the Parks and Rec Commission and ask them to, budget
Budget.
for maintenance of the common next year in the budget?
well, just make sure he's got a big enough box to put it in when he takes it back.
yes. They're doing the same thing on the rail trail for next year's budget.
Okay.
In other words, package it up well with a nice ribbon on it.
All right, I will do that,
What I mean.
I don't think we've ever disbanded a committee before.
that's excellent.
But if we're gonna disband the
Maybe we could
committee, we're
disband a
gonna
few
have
more
to
while we're at it.
disband the
Did we
committee
save
by-
any money?
We need a, we
Joint
need,
Loss Safety Committee,
we need a motion to
That's a big-
disband the
Okay.
committee.
Yes, we need a
We
motion.
need a motion to disband the committee,
I'll make that motion, to disband the Town Common Oversight Committee,
under what grounds?
under the grounds that there is no longer any trust funds available.
For them to
them to
provide
oversee,
oversight.
right.
Okay, is there a second? Well, if not, it's gonna die for lack of a second.
Won't be the first time.
It's 9:00, it's getting like that.
Mr.
Well,
Chair,
there's-
I'll second that. Because I want to go home too.
You hear that? That's when I'm a Mr. Chair all of a sudden.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, is there any further discussion on disbanding the Common Oversight Committee? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. And do you have one more thing? You sure?
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
It's gonna die for lack of a second.
We have any new business?
So we keep them.
I enjoy the company here, so
We could filibuster this thing.
Well, guess what? You guys can stay here and keep a meeting, you three, and I'll go home.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Good night.